This rich girl arrived at a luxury goods store wearing cheap clothes, and the salespeople cast disgusted glances at her. They hated it when customers just looked around without buying anything. After browsing around for a while, Rona asked the salesperson to bring her a limited edition bag, but when she wanted to see the style inside the bag, the salesperson looked reluctant. Even the security guard at the door laughed, until Rona calmly pointed to another bag next to her and said she wanted to buy it. The salesperson immediately beamed with satisfaction. Rona has been extremely pampered since childhood, and she has also lived a truly princess-like life. In order to find a man who is not attracted to her family background, she always wears the most plain clothes when going out on a date or a blind date. This day Rona met her boyfriend's mother in a coffee shop. Mrs. Lin looked up and down at Rona, seeing that the clothes she was wearing probably didn't add up to even 500 yuan. The snobbish woman instantly felt that the shabby woman in front of her was not worthy of her prosecutor's son. Mrs. Lin began to show off her superiority in front of Rona. Now the people who want to marry her son have already formed a line from New York to London. She wanted Rona to know that she was not worthy of her son and to give up. Rona told her that her parents were not the kind of people who only looked at conditions. On the contrary, she felt that character was the most important thing, so Mrs. Lin began to criticize Rona even more severely. "You think you're good enough to marry my son? You're dreaming." Hearing this, Rona also saw the true face of this family. Mrs. Lin impatiently stood up and was about to leave. Rona even provocatively patted the dandruff on her body and taught her how to wash her hair to reduce dandruff. Mrs. Lin was embarrassed. This was the first time she had met such a girl. The next day, Rona once again went to the luxury goods store, but this time, she was dressed in designer clothes and had a maid with her. The sales assistants were also respectful and changed their usual attitude. However, Rona asked the sales assistant to get the manager and put all the things she bought yesterday on the table. She said that the sales assistant's attitude was too bad when she bought the bag yesterday, so she wanted to return all the bags. Rona called the sales assistant from yesterday over to her and even started imitating her. The salesperson was so embarrassed that she wanted to crawl into a hole. There was nothing the manager could do but help Rona return the items. Afterwards, the manager gave the two salespersons a severe dressing down. "You don't even know the most basic etiquette? Don't you know that rich people these days deliberately try to look ordinary?" After returning the items, Rona wandered around the store again. She bought a few more limited edition bags with her generous hand. Before leaving, she deliberately stopped for a while. The sales assistants could only bow respectfully and apologize. Rona was about to leave when she ran into Mrs. Lin again. Mrs. Lin looked at Rona, who was wearing designer clothes, and couldn't believe her eyes. She excitedly went up to say hello, and Rona politely nodded without lingering. Mrs. Lin was completely shocked when she saw Rona get into her car. That day, Rona's sister-in-law ran home crying, saying that her husband wanted a divorce. Rona learned that her sister-in-law had already told her family about the divorce before she returned home. Rona thought that if her father found out, her sister-in-law would definitely be thrown out of the house. She calmed her sister-in-law down and went home first, vowing to help her plot. When the two spoke on the phone that night, Naeyeon said that she had checked her husband's phone but didn't find anything unusual. Rona then suggested that she go to her brother's car and see if there was another phone. "You must remember to search every corner of the car, and if you find something, don't tell my brother." Late at night, Naeyeon secretly went to her husband's car to look for it. Rona guessed correctly that there was indeed a spare phone in the car. Naeyeon looked at the messages on the phone and her whole body collapsed. She never thought that one day she would also be betrayed. Rona told her to write down the other person's number and find a photo of the other person and send it to her. She comforted her sister-in-law, telling her to pull herself together and not show any signs of weakness. This way, she could deal better with that woman who knew no boundaries. Rona received the photo sent and vowed to make that woman pay. The next day, Rona asked her brother's driver out to dinner. She begged the driver to help her find the woman's home address. "If my brother asks, I'll say I found out through a detective agency." The driver had no choice but to agree. As the two of them were about to leave, Rona asked the waiter to pack up the food that hadn't been eaten, but the waiter said that the restaurant's policy was not to allow takeaways. Rona was furious and shouted that she wanted to see the boss, but when the boss, Yoonmi, arrived, she gave the same reply. "The restaurant is worried that the food will spoil, so they don't allow guests to take any food away." Rona can't understand why she can't take the food she's paid for away with her. The boss explains that a customer once falsely accused the restaurant after taking some food home. Rona says, "Do you think I'm going to extort you with rotten food? Didn't your parents teach you not to waste food?" Yoonmi sees that the customer is being difficult, so she makes an exception and lets her take the food away. When Yoonmi angrily walked out of the private room, Rona's personal secretary couldn't help but laugh out loud. Soon the driver gave Rona the address of the evil woman Hyojin. Rona also brought the other two sisters-in-law to Hyojin's house in an aggressive manner, after they had made their identities clear. Hyojin also panicked instantly. Hyojin felt that it was not convenient for her mother to be at home, and wanted to take Rona and the others out to talk. Rona domineeringly said that it was better to talk about such things at home. She questioned Hyojin why she would do such a thing when she looked like a decent person. The group of people sat down on the sofa without asking permission. Hyojin's mother looked at the impolite group of people and had no idea what was going on. Rona directly told Hyojin's mother about her destroying her brother's family. Hyojin's mother was so angry that she stood up and slapped her daughter in the face. However, Hyojin directly pushed her mother away. She said that she had met true love and could not control her emotions. Rona said that it wasn't love, but your desire. Several people said that we will never leave your family until you break up. Hyojin's mother was afraid that things would get out of hand and promised not to let the two meet again. Hyojin was next to her and didn't dare to say anything. Seeing Hyojin suffer, Rona also revealed a smile of victory. The few people didn't expect to have easily resolved this matter without having to take any action. That day, Rona was attracted by the magnetic male voice on the radio, and learned that the man was a writer named Inseok. She immediately picked up her phone and searched for his introduction, but there were no photos of him online. Convinced by his voice, Rona went to the bookstore and bought Inseok's novel, and she also found out Inseok's home address at the first opportunity. The next day, Rona arrived at Inseok's doorstep, and coincidentally, a handsome guy on a bike came over and greeted her. Inseok mistook Rona for a journalist and immediately invited her in. Sometimes happiness comes so suddenly. After sitting down in the living room, Rona realized that Inseok must have made an appointment for an interview, so Rona pretended to start the interview. But, being unprofessional, she didn't even have a pen and paper or recording equipment. It wasn't until Inseok reminded her that she reacted. Rona said, "I was so nervous that I wasn't fully prepared." Halfway through the interview, the phone rang. In order to make the interview go more smoothly, Inseok took Rona upstairs. Rona was overjoyed. Not only did she get to meet her idol up close, she even got to see his room. After sitting down upstairs, Rona took the opportunity of the interview to ask about Inseok's family. Inseok had lost his parents at a young age and was brought up by his three older sisters. Rona couldn't help but feel pleased inside. If she got married in the future, she wouldn't even have to serve her in-laws. What she didn't know was that she had already offended Inseok's two sisters. Inseok's eldest sister owns a restaurant and is the boss that Rona lectured the other day. Inseok's second sister Yunhai works as a sculptor. Inseok's third sister is a singer. The other day at the pool, Yoonji splashed everyone because she was swimming too vigorously. Rona again domineered and lectured the other party. "Auntie, you must pay attention to your image when swimming in the future." Yoonji is not yet married and was very unhappy to be called auntie by others, but she didn't say much. She gave Rona a hard look and left. When Rona left the pool, she ran into Yoonji again, and immediately asked Yoonji why she had ignored herself. Seeing that the other party did not respond, Rona relentlessly chased after her. "I was kind enough to teach you in the pool. Why are you looking at me askance?" The camera panned to Rona and Inseok chatting about a lot of topics related to reading, but when she talks about these things with the writer, she seems very ignorant. Inseok says a lot of things from his mouth, and Rona can't answer them fluently. Just then, the doorbell rang. Rona was worried that it was the real reporter. She made an excuse that she had enough material for the interview and hurriedly planned to leave. Inseok looked incredulous and asked, "Is this enough material?" But he still gentlemanly escorted Rona downstairs. Rona saw that the person knocking on the door was a salesman, so she let out a sigh of relief. After a polite goodbye, Rona also got away unscathed. She sat alone in the park, remembering her conversation with Inseok and feeling happy. Not long after Rona left, the real reporter Ji Young arrived at Inseok's doorstep. The nanny was very confused. "The reporter just left. Why is there another one?" Ji Young explained that she was the real reporter. Then she took out her press card, and the nanny let her in. After confirming Ji Young's identity, the nanny also fell into self-doubt. Who was the person who just came? Ji Young wanted to continue the interview, but unfortunately Inseok had already left the house. When Inseok returned home with his sisters in the evening, the nanny also told them about the fake reporter. Everyone was very surprised that such a thing could happen. Yoonmi immediately called the friend she had previously agreed to interview. It turned out that Ji Young had not come at the agreed time because she had been in a small car accident. Yoonmi's friend was none other than Hyojin's mother, Young. The two of them agreed on a new time to interview. After hanging up, they also speculated about the identity of the fake reporter. At this time, Rona had already fallen into a dream. She dreamed of a beautiful scene of getting married with Insiak. The next day, Rona brought a flower basket and went to Insiak's house again. She learned that Insiak was not at home. She explained to the nanny that there had been some misunderstanding yesterday. She also wrote down her phone number and asked the nanny to help pass it on to Insiak. After Rona got back in the car, a woman walked up to her car. The woman started straightening her teeth against the car window. Rona immediately opened the window and said, "Your teeth are very clean." In fact, this woman was Insiak's sister. Rona had completely offended all three of Insiak's sisters. When she got home that night, Rona didn't receive a call from Insiak, but she still comforted herself by thinking that maybe Insiak had just drunk too much and didn't call. She started to simulate in bed the tone of voice she would use when answering the phone. And she even got a little carried away. She even imagined her future married life. At this time, Insiak had just returned home. His sisters then brought the phone number that Rona had left during the day. Yunni sneered at this and scolded Rona for being ill-mannered. She had only left a phone number without even saying her name. Yunji had wanted her brother to call and ask what was going on. Insiak felt that there was no need to get in touch at all and refused directly. The next day, Rona mustered up the courage to come to Insiak's house again. Just as she was about to ring the doorbell, Insiak walked out. Rona immediately followed Insiak. She learned that the other person had gone out to prepare for a date, and she even had the nerve to ask if she could follow along. Insiak said, "Go ahead." So Rona happily followed. But in order to get rid of Rona, he started walking and then running. Poor Rona followed in high heels the whole way. At the end, she really couldn't take it anymore and asked Insiak if she could take a taxi. Insiak stopped and said, "If you're tired, don't follow me anymore." After he ran to the bus, Rona followed him. Rona had never taken the bus before and had no idea how much the fare was. The driver looked at Rona like she was a fool. Rona could only silently take out 50,000 won from her wallet and put it in. Afterwards, she asked why there was no change. The passengers on the bus laughed. It was the first time they had encountered someone like Rona. The driver could only ask Rona to leave her bank card number for the time being and that he would transfer the money back to her. Rona was extremely embarrassed. She walked over to Insiak's back seat and sat down. When the bus arrived at its stop, Rona got off the bus with Insiak. However, she was wearing high heels and couldn't keep up with Insiak's pace. She tripped accidentally. Insiak went up to her and helped her up, asking her why she kept following him. Rona had no choice but to continue following Insiak to a restaurant and sit down. There she just looked at Insiak in front of her, closing his eyes to rest. She was once again overwhelmed by the handsome appearance of this male god. Rona took out her phone to take a secret photo, but was caught in the act by Insiak. After her friend walked in, Insiak even deliberately introduced Rona as a reporter for a newspaper. Insiak's friend immediately said, "I've seen your interviews before. I didn't realize that the real person is so beautiful." Rona was so embarrassed that she politely said goodbye and left the restaurant. The next day, while getting ready, Rona received an unfamiliar call. It was from Insiak. Insiak had the unprecedented idea of inviting her to dinner. It turned out to be a dream that Rona had. Early the next morning, she was waiting at the door of her dream lover's house. Rona even willingly did errands for Insiak. But Insiak was still upset about the fact that Rona had deceived him using her fake journalist identity. Rona kept talking and wouldn't stop, so Insiak just started running. But who could resist a beautiful girl's persistence? Facing this cute little pest, Insiak was at his wit's end. When he rested on a park bench, Rona was already too tired to stand. She said coquettishly that she wanted warm water or coffee. Insiak could only accompany her to the roadside to buy coffee. The two sat together on the roadside. Rona took out the portable stereo she had prepared in advance and handed him one of the earphones. Together, they listened to the same love song under the warm spring sun. Afterwards, Rona used the excuse that she wanted to invite Insiak to dinner as an apology in order to get his phone number. Although Insiak's attitude towards Rona had improved after spending the morning together, he still did not give her his phone number, saying that he would contact her. That night, Rona did not receive any news from Insiak. However, she was still very happy. She felt that Insiak had already been completely attracted to herself, and that it was only a matter of time before she and Insiak fell in love. The next day, Insiak went out for a run as usual. This time, he did not see Rona's figure. In fact, Rona had already been waiting in the park for a long time. After seeing Insiak, Rona deliberately walked in his direction to create the illusion of a chance encounter. However, Insiak was instantly attracted to Rona's dog. Rona happily said that she had brought the dog out because she had heard that you like dogs. Insiak happily took the dog for a run on the grass. That was how the two of them and the dog happily ran on the grass. After exercising, Rona and Insiak sat together on the roadside eating breakfast. Rona also successfully got Insiak's phone number. While Rona was still basking in the joy of getting his contact information, the dog actually pooped directly on the roadside. Insiak kept urging Rona to clean it up quickly, but Rona was a little at a loss. Although she dotes on her dog very much, she has never cleaned up dog poop before. After some persuasion from Insiak, she could only pick up the plastic bag and get ready to clean it up. Unexpectedly, as soon as Rona squatted down, she had a vomit reaction. Seeing Rona squirm, Insiak had no choice but to help her clean up. When they returned, Rona thanked Insiak and invited him to dinner the next day. This time, Insiak readily agreed. The next day, Rona arrived at Insiak's house as promised, but she happened to run into Yunmi at the door. Neither of them remembered the unpleasant experience at the restaurant. Yunmi learned that Rona was there on a date with Insiak and enthusiastically opened the door. Insiak happened to be leaving the house at the same time. After saying hello to his sister, the two of them left the house together. Rona invited Insiak to eat sashimi and also boldly expressed her feelings. However, Insiak felt that the age difference between the two of them was too great and did not accept. As a result, Rona kept on promoting herself. Insiak suggested that the two of them get along as brother and sister. Rona readily agreed and even happily called him brother. After the two of them finished eating, Insiak also took the lead and paid the bill. Rona was very surprised. Their relationship took a step forward that day. Insiak grew up under the care of his three older sisters. They have sacrificed everything for Insiak. For decades, these three sisters have prayed for Insiak every night before he goes to bed. Insiak has long been accustomed to the sound of his sisters' prayers. He is even worried that he will not be able to sleep without this sound in the future. The three sisters have also set unprecedentedly high expectations for their future sister-in-law. Yunmi was shocked when she realized that the girl was Rona. After Insiak returned home from his date, his sisters immediately told him what had happened in the restaurant. Yunmi directly stated that she had a very bad impression of Rona. She thought that Rona was very rude. She demanded that Insiak stop seeing Rona. However, Insiak felt that Rona had done nothing wrong. He believed that Rona was not the type of person who did not know how to behave. Insiak insisted that the two of them just wanted to be friends. And as a writer, he believes that only by interacting with different people can he improve his writing. The next day, Insiak packed his things and left. Rona had been waiting for a long time. Rona wanted to be Insiak's chauffeur for free in the future. Insiak didn't refuse, and happily got into the car. After a while, Rona complained again, saying, "I might as well just be your full-time secretary." Looking at the quirky Rona, Insiak couldn't help but start to develop a good impression of her. To show his appreciation, Insiak even took the initiative to take her out for some delicious French food at lunch. Rona was so happy that she couldn't stop smiling. Insiak, however, had ulterior motives for taking Rona to his sister's restaurant. Rona said that she had been here before and that the food was delicious. Once the two of them were seated in the private room, Insiak even deliberately asked what she would do with the uneaten food. Rona answered without hesitation that she would take it home in a doggy bag. Just then Yunmi walked in. Insiak immediately said, "This is my sister." At that moment, Rona really wanted to burrow underground to hide the embarrassment. After a while, Insiak asked if there was any conflict between the two. Rona explained that it might be because she had forcibly packed the food before, which made your sister unhappy, but I also didn't want to waste it, so I did it. Rona felt very aggrieved. If the misunderstanding is not resolved, how can I live? Before the two parted, Rona gave Insiak a shirt, and she even volunteered to go to the countryside with Insiak in a couple of days to work together. When Insiak got out of the shower at night, he put the shirt on and wore it. At this time, Hyojin had not given up on her true love, and her mother even began to help her out with advice. Mikyoung was Hyojin's stepmother, and the two didn't get along very well. In order to get her daughter married off as soon as possible, Mikyoung even told Hyojin to fake a pregnancy. This way, even if they hate you, there's nothing they can do about it. So the next day, when Hyojin and Rona's brother were having dinner, she pretended to have morning sickness, and Yeol understood immediately what was going on. He was very anxious. He didn't want a child. Soon Yeol told Rona the news. Rona, with her hot temper, could not hold back her emotions. She didn't want this Hyojin to become her sister-in-law, so she once again called her two sisters-in-law to Hyojin's house. Hyojin was a little at a loss when she saw Rona. Rona bluntly said, "We've heard about your pregnancy." After learning that Hyojin had not been to the hospital, The women planned to take her for a checkup right away. Mi-kyung spoke up and scolded them for barging in uninvited and causing a scene. She said she would take Hyejin for a checkup the following week, but Rona was aggressive and very forceful, and insisted that Hyejin go to the hospital with her today. The several people kept arguing with one another. Mi-kyung and her younger sister also took the opportunity to tell Hyejin to hurry up and leave. Rona's sister-in-law immediately stood up and held Hyejin back to prevent her from leaving. Rona questioned Hyejin, asking if she wanted to force my brother to marry you by faking a pregnancy. Seeing that Hyejin didn't say anything, Rona stepped forward and was about to get physical, but Ji-young suddenly pushed Rona away. She threatened Rona that if she messed around again, she would call the police, but Rona was not afraid at all. Just as she was about to hit Hyejin, Ji-young grabbed her hair. The two of them then wrestled with each other. As Ji-young fell to the ground, Rona also arrogantly fixed her hair. Seeing that they could not beat each other, Hyejin's family could only obediently sit down again to negotiate. Rona took out a pregnancy test stick that she had prepared in advance and asked Hyejin to take a test now. Hyejin, however, acted very unwillingly. Rona then said that if she felt embarrassed about the pregnancy test stick, she could call a doctor over. She was not going to continue the fight after what had just happened. She already guessed that Hyejin was pretending to be pregnant. The next day, Rona asked her brother out. She then vividly described what had happened last night. Hyejin's pregnancy was a carefully designed hoax. You don't have to worry about anything at all. Yeon-keol couldn't help but sigh when he thought about how Hyejin had acted like she was pregnant last time. This woman is really good at acting. Rona then went to In-seok's sister Yoonmi's restaurant again. She apologized to Yoonmi for what happened last time. Yoonmi could only say polite things to show her understanding. Rona took the opportunity to ask if she could visit their home occasionally. Yoonmi asked Rona if she was in a relationship with In-seok. Rona explained that the two were still brother and sister, but she wants to go over occasionally to help with errands. Yoonmi doesn't like this rude girl and uses excuses to politely reject her. Rona is a little disappointed, but after all, this is In-seok's sister, and she doesn't dare offend her. At this time, Rona's sisters-in-law also started acting up. They went to a restaurant in the mall to eat together, but because it was just dinner time, there was no place to sit in the large restaurant. Just then, they saw a woman sitting alone at a table for four, and this woman was In-seok's other sister. But Rona's sisters-in-law didn't know her at all, so they all walked over together and stood next to Yoonhye, watching her the whole time. Yoonhye was a little confused when she realized they were waiting for their own seats. Even if there were no seats, they couldn't just stare at other people eating. But what was unexpected was that the three of them just sat down as they should have. Hyun even directly picked up Yoonhye's bag and put it on the table. Yoonhye ignored them and continued eating the last noodles in her bowl, but the three of them kept staring at her. Yoonhye had never met such strange women before. She told the three of them to go to the seat next to them that had just become vacant. But as soon as the three sisters stood up, the seat was taken by someone else. There was nothing they could do but sit back down again. As she left, Yoonhye lectured the three of them, telling them not to stare at other people while they eat in the future. It's really rude, but their feud didn't end there. After the meal, the few people went to the bathroom and said that Yoonhye had eaten the noodles so cleanly that her family must be very poor. But what they didn't know was that Yoonhye was sitting in the toilet at this time. After Alan finished talking to her husband on the phone, she continued to start complaining about Yoonhye. Yoonhye took Alan's phone while she wasn't looking and hid in the toilet. She dialed the number Alan had just called and lied to the other party that the owner of the phone had fainted outside the toilet in the mall. The others were panicking outside. If Yeon-keol knew what had happened, the consequences would be unimaginable. The sister-in-law told Hyun to quickly find the security guard. Alan used her sister-in-law's phone to call her husband to explain. Just as the security guard walked in, Yoonhye immediately wrote down Alan's husband's phone number and walked out with the phone. Alan grabbed the phone back as soon as she could, but Yoonhye said as soon as she came out that she was a friend of the boss's and told the security guard to go get the boss. The others realized that something was wrong and tried to stop the security guard. Hyun rushed back a little while later and said that Rona was here. The others quickly dragged Yoonhye into the bathroom and covered her mouth. The three sisters-in-law were most afraid of Rona. Yoonhye broke free immediately to see who it was, but Rona had already gone far away. Yoonhye was very angry at their actions. The boss arrived late. Seeing that the several people were at an impasse, the boss suggested going to the office to have a good chat. Yoonji realized that this woman was not someone to be trifled with, and her arrogance was gone. One after the other, they apologized to Yoonhye. Rona's sister-in-law even suggested that Yoonhye buy a bag. Yoonhye angrily said, "Do I look like someone who needs a bag?" At this time, Rona was still looking forward to tomorrow's trip with In-seok. After confirming the departure time with In-seok, She also fell asleep contentedly. The next day, Rona got up early and put on beautiful clothes. Rona picked up Insiak and set off happily. When they arrived at the destination, it was already night. They came together to a fancy restaurant to eat. Looking at the beautiful woman in front of him, Insiak couldn't help but marvel at Rona's elegance and dignity. Rona directly expressed her feelings. However, she did not reveal her family background. She asked Insiak if he would like to consider her as a marriage partner. Insiak felt that it seemed too hasty to talk about marriage when the two of them did not know each other. He then added that even if they got married, he would have to consult his three sisters. After Insiak returned home, he told his sisters about his time with Rona. If they did not like it, he would immediately break up with her. After listening, the two sisters were very happy and readily agreed. At this time, Rona looked at the photo of herself and Insiak together and went into a daze. The next day, the two of them went out to dinner. Insiak also told Rona the basic information about his two sisters in the car. Rona was very looking forward to this meeting. She must seize this opportunity to do well. Insiak's other two sisters were also very much looking forward to seeing the true face of their future sister-in-law. They also planned to help convince Yunmi together if they thought it was good. I really don't know if the few people can still smile after meeting. At this time, Rona and Insiak had already arrived at the restaurant. After a while, the waiter brought Yunhai, Insiak's sister, in. Rona looked at Yunhai, who had just entered the door, and she was dumbfounded. Fortunately, Yunhai did not recognize her. She even greeted her politely. Just as Yunji finished her phone call and walked in, she felt that Rona looked very familiar. She asked if we had met before. Yunji suddenly remembered that the other person was the one who called her auntie at the pool. Rona felt extremely embarrassed. When it was time to eat, Insiak's sisters asked how the two of them had met. They learned that Rona was actually the imposter journalist. Insiak's two sisters were even more speechless. After this meal, Yunhai and Yunji also strengthened their position and decided that they could not agree to the marriage of the two. That night Yunmi also scolded her two younger sisters. They were firm in their attitude towards Insiak and Rona's marriage and there was no room for discussion. Insiak was very angry. He didn't feel that Rona had done anything wrong. The sisters took turns scolding Insiak. The next day Rona came to Yunhai's house to apologize. She also told them about the time the two of them had met before. Rona thought that these unpleasant experiences might just be a test for her. She would also try her best to gain her sister's approval. Yunhai was finally moved by Rona's sincerity and promised Rona that she would think about it. Afterwards, Yunhai found her younger brother. No matter what, getting married is your own business. Your sisters shouldn't impose their wishes on you. Insiak was overjoyed and kept praising Rona for being such a good girl. Seeing her younger brother so happy, Yunhai also promised him that she would persuade the other two sisters. But when Insiak went on a date with Rona, he pretended to be serious. Rona tried to talk to him but he scolded her, and then the two went shopping at the mall. Insiak proposed to buy Rona a dress, and asked for her size before asking the salesperson to wrap it up. When the two arrived at the park, Insiak broke up with Rona. Rona was very angry and asked Insiak what he really thought. But Insiak said, "My family doesn't like you, what can I do?" After hearing this, Rona walked quickly back to the car. She returned the clothes that Insiak had just bought for her. She felt that she had done nothing wrong. Rona had been looking at Yunji like a married woman, which is why she had called her auntie. It was also because Yunhai splashed water while swimming that she had reminded her out of good intentions. "But your sister completely ignored me, which is why I chased after her to the cafe." Rona didn't want to continue talking about it, allowing the person that Insiak and his sister liked to fall in love. See Rona leave angrily. Insiak hurriedly explained in a panic that they were just joking. In order to appease Rona, Insiak even flirted with her. When the two sat down on a bench by the road, Insiak even sang a song for Rona. The next day, Rona and Insiak went on a date to a restaurant. Rona looked over at the young couple next to her who were giving each other flowers, and couldn't help but envy them. At that moment, Insiak's phone happened to ring. After he answered the phone, he returned with a beautiful bouquet of flowers. Any girl would like a man who was so attentive. When she got home, Rona happily put the flowers in a vase and took care of them. Rona's mother exclaimed that the flowers were very beautiful, but her father said that they would wither soon. Rona bragged that she didn't buy the flowers herself, but that her boyfriend gave them to her. Her mother looked at her husband resentfully and said that she had never received flowers. At this time, Yunhai invited her younger and older sisters to her house. She began to plead with Rona, feeling that as long as the two were happy, that was all that mattered. We as older sisters shouldn't interfere too much. But Yunmi felt that the three sisters had raised Insiak with great difficulty, judging from the fact that Rona had pretended to be a reporter. she was not a simple person. Yoonji then suggested that either Rona should come to the house often to deliberately make things difficult for her, or she should withdraw on her own initiative. Her idea was very much approved by Yoonmi. The two then began to plan. Soon Yoonji asked Rona to a restaurant. Rona even brought a beautiful flower basket for her sisters, but after the few of them sat down, Yoonmi started to make things difficult. If you're going to send flowers, you should send them in a vase. Otherwise, don't send them at all. Yoonji then asked Rona for a full English CV. She said she wanted to get a good understanding of how Rona grew up. Then they asked Rona again if she would like to live together after marriage. Unexpectedly, Rona agreed to their request without hesitation. After dinner, Yoonmi suggested that if they wanted to become family, they should go horse riding with her first. Rona had ridden before and felt that the sport was a bit dangerous. Yoonji looked at Rona, who was at a loss for words, and directly asked her to go together at 8 a.m. the next morning. Yoonmi then deliberately said that horse riding was very good for the body. Rona had no choice but to reluctantly agree. However, Yoonmi then deliberately mentioned that a friend of hers had broken a bone after falling off a horse. Rona saw through their little scheme and did not back down. She then told Inseok that she had made a date with his sisters to go horse riding the next day. Inseok was very happy and said that he wanted to go with them. The two agreed on a time and place to meet the next day and then hung up. But then Rona received a call from her father's company employee. The employee told her that the chairman had been in a very serious car accident on his way home from work. The secretary who was with him had died and the driver was still in a coma. Rona was so panicked that she accidentally left her phone in the car when she got out. She returned home in a daze and learned that her mother was in the kitchen. She did not greet her as usual. Then Rona called her brother and told him the news about her father's car accident. Her brother asked Rona not to tell her mother about it yet. He told her to lie and say that her father had drunk too much and fell asleep at the factory. Coincidentally, her mother also came to Rona's room and scolded her for not greeting her when she returned home. Rona lied that she had just needed to go to the bathroom in a hurry, and then she deceived her mother by saying that her father would not be home today. Her mother did not suspect anything and went back to her room. Soon, Rona and her brothers drove to the hospital. At this time, Rona's sisters-in-law also gathered together after learning the news. But what they were concerned about was not their father-in-law's safety but who should inherit the company in the future. It is really sad to have such daughters-in-law. The next day, Inseok woke up early and rushed to the hotel where he had arranged to meet Rona. But after a long time had passed, he still didn't see Rona's shadow. He called Rona, but there was no answer. This was the first time he had ever encountered such a situation. Looking at the time on the wall, Inseok began to panic. Just then, his sister called and scolded them for not yet arriving. Inseok then went to the place where he had previously dropped Rona off. But what he didn't know was that this was actually Yeol's home. He asked the doorman for information and showed him Rona's photo. But the doorman told him that he had never seen this person before. Inseok could only leave in disappointment. At this time, his sisters were very angry because they had been deceived by Rona. Yoonji felt that Rona might not have the confidence to come. Yoonhye thought that something had happened to Rona to make her stand them up. Yoonmi saw her brother come back and immediately asked what was going on. Inseok was very disappointed, thinking that Rona had played a joke on him, and that Rona never really wanted to marry him in the first place. Inseok was disheartened and decided to break up with Rona. Hearing this, his two sisters were also very happy. Inseok went back to his room in a daze. He looked at the photos of Rona on his phone and deleted them all. Time passed like this. 3 months later, Inseok's novel was about to be made into a TV series. He had been busy selecting the cast. Meanwhile, Rona was crying every day because her father had been lying in the hospital without waking up. But the company also went bankrupt because of her father's accident. Everything in the house was taken as collateral by the bank. Even her last dog was taken away. Her brothers did not want to upset Rona, so they did not tell her the news. When Rona returned home from the hospital, she saw that everything had been sealed up. She could no longer hold back and broke down, sobbing uncontrollably on the bed. Soon, the bank came to her house to liquidate the assets. Rona never imagined that her beloved dog would also be on the mortgage list. Despite Rona's desperate pleas, the staff took the dog away without mercy. A heartbroken Rona collapsed directly on the ground. When they saw this, her two brothers quickly went up to comfort her, but Rona stood up and rushed out. She even knelt on the ground and begged the other party to let the dog go. Seeing Rona in such a state of collapse, the family was very distressed. The staff was finally moved by Rona's sincerity. Finally, they agreed to let the dog stay. Rona, hugging the dog, could not stop sobbing and kept thanking them for their kindness. Then the siblings went to the hospital. The doctor said that the chairman's condition was very poor and he might not survive the day. Everyone was very sad to hear the news. The doctor also comforted them, saying that it was already a miracle that the chairman had lasted this long. Then Yankeol called his mother and broke the news that his father had passed away. The two of them could not stop sobbing on the phone. This day had finally come. Soon the family held a funeral for the chairman. Although the chairman had been in the hospital for 3 months, Rona still couldn't accept that her father, who loved her so much, had left her forever. She hadn't even had the chance to properly filial piety to her father. Rona was heartbroken. She hoped that this was all a dream. Soon, Rona's brothers sent their respective wives abroad. Then the brothers took Rona and her mother and moved to a simple house. The mother and daughter were to start a new life in this small house. After moving in, Rona wasted no time in finding her old friends. She knew that a friend's relative worked as a producer at a TV station and hoped that he could help introduce her to an acting role. The friend, seeing how haggard Rona had become, agreed to help. He even arranged a meeting for the two of them at 3 p.m. So Rona arrived at the TV station at the appointed time. During the interview, the producer asked her a few questions and learned that Rona had no acting experience. The producer was very worried, but saw Rona's confident expression. It so happened that there was a drama recently selecting a maid, and the producer felt that the role fit Rona's image perfectly. He said he could help introduce her to the director. When the brothers learned that Rona had gone to the TV station to audition, they began to look forward to the scene of Rona counting money when she became famous. When the time comes, Rona will start filming and taking commercials non-stop, and we can also pay off all our debts as soon as possible. It's really pitiful that Rona has to shoulder the responsibility of supporting her family at such a young age. These brothers don't go out to work, but just daydream at home. Rona even changed her name on purpose so as not to meet any acquaintances at the TV station. When the director walked in during the interview, Rona immediately realized that this person was Inseok's friend, but Rona didn't tell the two about their experiences, and also nervously began the interview. The director did not recognize her and sighed that it was a pity to make such a beautiful girl play a maid. During the audition, a writer on the side randomly came up with a question and asked Rona to pretend to be a rich girl going on a blind date. Rona's performance was excellent, and the director and writer were very satisfied. When leaving, the director told Rona the role she played and told her to go home and wait for his notification. Rona curiously took out the script to check it, but she discovered that the screenwriter of this drama was actually Inseok. Just then, Inseok also walked out from behind, but he looked at the back of the woman in front of him and didn't recognize Rona, and the two went in different directions. After Inseok arrived at the meeting room, the few people discussed the interview. The writer thought that Rona seemed more suitable for the female lead, but the director felt that the current female lead was more beautiful. Despite the writer's insistence, the director did not change his mind. Inseok immediately became interested in the actor he just interviewed. He asked the assistant director to try calling him back to see. Just then, the heroine also walked in. It turned out to be the former reporter Ji-young. The writer asked Ji-young the same question as Rona just now. The director even personally acted with Ji-young, but Ji-young's answer was very different from Rona's performance. Judging from the performance of the two, the writer was even more convinced of his own ideas. In her opinion, Ji-young is just beautiful but has no resilience. Her acting skills are also very worrying. The two argued with their own opinions. Seeing the two arguing and blushing made Inseok even more curious. But how would he know that the person the director and writer were talking about was Rona? The few of them also walked together towards the meeting room. Rona and Inseok were both surprised when they saw each other. They never imagined that they would meet again in this way 3 months later. But they didn't greet each other and pretended not to know each other as they began the next interview. The director introduced Inseok to Rona, saying that he was the screenwriter for the drama. Rona looked at Inseok and her expression became very nervous. When they asked Rona where she lived, Rona's answer was different from what she had told Inseok before. Inseok was even more convinced that Rona was the woman who had cheated on him. He immediately said that the leading role would be more suitable for Ji-young. Not only that, he also refused to let Rona play the role of the maid. He told the producer that he had several candidates for the role of the maid. Then he rudely told Rona to leave. At this point, the director remembered having seen Rona somewhere before, and asked Inseok if this wasn't the fan who had been pursuing you. Inseok's expression began to look panicked. The writer was a little puzzled after hearing this. Could it be that you are rejecting her because of personal feelings? Rona, who had left the TV station, sat on a bench in a daze. She thought about the words that Inseok had just rejected her with, and she couldn't help but feel sad inside. That night, Rona did not go home, but went to Inseok's house instead. She stood in front of the door waiting for Inseok to come home from work. She begged Inseok to give her 10 minutes of his time to hear her explanation, but Inseok mercilessly rejected her. At this point, Nothing else mattered anymore. Rona said that she would keep standing in front of the door until you were willing to hear my explanation. But Insiak did not relent and told Rona to go ahead. Rona just stood there, foolishly, at the entrance to Insiak's house, waiting for the chance to explain herself. After a while, Insiak received a call from his sister, asking him to go out and pick up a delivery. When Insiak left the house, Rona was still standing there, not moving. Rona asked sadly, "Is it really so difficult to give myself 10 minutes to explain?" But Insiak, who was already heartbroken, no longer believed in Rona. He felt that Rona had been deceiving his feelings from the very beginning. Rona apologized to Insiak for not being able to make the appointment earlier. She begged Insiak not to ruin this opportunity for her to become an actress. Seeing Rona's sincere appearance, Insiak agreed, but he made one request, which was never to contact him again for personal matters. After leaving Insiak's house, Rona helplessly crouched by the roadside. The pressure that had built up over this period of time also made Rona feel aggrieved. When she got home, she reported the good news to her family but not the bad. She told them that she had already gotten the script. Although it is only a small role, she will definitely do her best. The family was also happy for Rona. While sleeping, Rona thought about Insiak saying that Ji-young is more suitable for the female lead and felt very sad. After all, we were also in a relationship. How can you belittle yourself like this and support others? Rona secretly made up her mind that she would definitely succeed and impress him. The next day, Rona went to the TV station but met Ji-young face to face. The two of them immediately remembered their previous unpleasant experiences and were both very surprised. Before long, Ji-young went to the director and producer to deliver coffee, while Rona went to the meeting room alone to practice her lines in advance. After a while, the director walked in, and Rona greeted him politely, but she was shocked to see Ji-young enter the door together. The director introduced Ji-young to Rona. In the play, Ji-young plays the role of a spoiled brat. When the few of them sat down and started acting, Rona was out of it. Her lines were stiff and emotionless, and Ji-young laughed out loud. The director angrily scolded Rona, and they had to start over again and again from the beginning. Later, Insiak immediately asked the director about Rona's performance. The director told him that from his perspective, as a beginner, she was actually quite good. It could be seen that Rona had practiced a lot in private, but she was still scolded many times by the director. The hard-hit Rona then went alone to the lake. She wasn't overly sad but instead called her acting teacher. She prayed that the other person could spare some time to help her practice in the evening. Insiak sat at home, thinking about Rona's hesitant expression last night. He also wondered to himself, could it be that Rona really has something she can't tell me? So he asked a colleague for Rona's current phone number. Insiak wanted to ask Rona out. Rona wanted to explain directly over the phone, but Insiak lied that it was about work. The next day, the two met at a cafe. Insiak asked her why she hadn't kept the appointment before, but Rona did not tell the truth. Insiak then proposed that Rona give up the role in the drama. He said that there was a scene in the drama where she was slapped in the face, and wanted her to back out. He also said that he would introduce her to other better roles, but Rona refused, saying that she did not need your pity. It was me who misjudged you before. You and I are completely different from what I imagined. After Rona finished speaking, she angrily left. Insiak also lost his temper and chased after her, scolding Rona. It was you who suddenly appeared and shamelessly wanted to be with me, but then suddenly disappeared. And when you reappeared, it was to star in my TV series. Rona was very sad. She didn't want it to be like this either, but this was her livelihood. Insiak questioned Rona. Which was your true self? Before, you were a pampered little princess, but now why do you want to make money so badly? Rona said she just wanted to practice her acting, but Insiak slapped her. At this moment, the two of them seemed to have completely shattered their illusions of each other. Insiak saw Rona in tears and could feel her sadness. Perhaps Rona really did have something she couldn't tell him. After leaving, Rona sat alone by the lake. She thought about Insiak's misunderstanding and how he had hit her. Rona finally couldn't hold back her emotions and broke down in tears. The next day, Insiak suddenly remembered what Rona had said to him, "We are fate." He could feel Rona's sincerity at that time. Rona's feelings for herself were definitely not an act. So Insiak secretly made up his mind that he would make Rona fall in love with him here. And today was also the first meeting of all the actors in the crew. Ji-young specially prepared sandwiches for each member of the crew in order to please the crew. When she learned that it was Ji-young who had asked the nanny at home to prepare them specially, everyone thanked Ji-young for her intentions. Looking at the drinks on the table, the director even joked that he thought this was something Rona had prepared for everyone. Rona could only say awkwardly that she would prepare them herself next time. Writer, who was standing nearby, said that as long as the actors performed well, That would be enough. In-seok, meanwhile, looked at the sandwich in his hand and was lost in his memories. Rona had also prepared sandwiches for him personally before. How happy the two of them were back then. Soon everyone discovered that the sandwiches prepared by Ji-young were simply inedible. When it came to the self-introduction session, the director formally introduced Ji-young to everyone. Then Rona gathered her courage, stood up and introduced herself, saying that she would work hard. But the director said that everyone would work hard. The question is whether they can do a good job. An actor with poor acting skills will not be bought by the audience. They will just turn the channel immediately after watching it. At that moment, a colleague asked about Rona's specific situation. Rona just wanted to speak up, but the director loudly changed the topic. In-seok hoped that the director would not target Rona everywhere, but the director felt that Rona just had a pretty face, and her acting was poor. Not to mention that she didn't even understand the most basic human emotions. In-seok felt very uncomfortable when he heard this. Later, the colleagues went to a karaoke bar for team building. In-seok's eyes always followed Rona, but sadness was in his eyes. As Rona sang, she couldn't help but suppress her emotions. She turned her back and secretly wiped away her tears. All of this was also seen by Who Writer. After Rona finished performing, she hid in the bathroom and broke down in tears. This scene happened to be seen by Who Writer. She immediately hugged Rona and gave her motherly comfort. The next day, the director confirmed the makeup and costumes for Ji-young and Rona. When selecting for Ji-young, the director considered every aspect and demanded the best for both the clothes and makeup. He kept praising Ji-young for being beautiful. No matter what, she looked very good. Then the director said that Rona's clothes must match the role of the maid. Facing the director's disregard, Rona couldn't say anything. After work, In-seok sent a message to Rona and called her back to the meeting room. While waiting, he even imagined directly expressing his feelings to Rona. But when Rona really arrived, In-seok was afraid. He just suggested that Rona could please the director a little so that she wouldn't have to take so much abuse. Rona said that she would never please such a person. In-seok felt that even if it was acting, she should pretend to please. This is the way of the world. You should adapt to society, not let society adapt to you. But Rona simply didn't want to bow down. She hadn't even received her pay yet, so why should she go to him and smile? She didn't understand In-seok's intentions, and the two of them parted ways in discord. But In-seok kept talking up Rona to the director. The director agreed to let his assistant call Rona out for a chat just to please In-seok. When Rona arrived, the director explained that he had done what he did for her own good. Rona also frankly said that it was fine with her. He asked about Rona's family situation. When he heard Rona say that her father had passed away, In-seok was also very surprised. But as they chatted, the director once again talked about his own kind of cliché outlook on life, calling on Rona to raise him. In-seok realized that this was not right and quickly raised his glass. But the director did not stop. He said that the crew members were all very hardworking, and as a junior actor, it was only right to buy everyone drinks and the like. He began to compare Rona with Ji-young. They are the same age. Ji-young is a mature adult who understands human relationships, while you are simply an ignorant child. Hearing this, Rona could no longer bear it. She began to argue back with the director, using harsh words. The two people next to them saw that the atmosphere was not right and quickly changed the subject. However, the director could not accept Rona's temper. Seeing Rona's eyes, he became even more severe. It is precisely because of this that you cannot become the protagonist. Rona tells the director that she is only acting and not learning how to please others. In-seok never imagined that his good intentions would end up like this. Watching Rona leave in tears, his heart aches. The next day, In-seok waits for Rona in front of the TV station. He asks Rona why she didn't tell him about her father's death. If you had explained the situation, I wouldn't have misunderstood you. Rona is very sad. At that time, did you give me a chance? I waited for you for 3 hours that day. I just wanted 10 minutes to explain, but you didn't want to hear anything. Rona returned the favor. You can misunderstand me all you want. I don't care at all. The day of the shoot was approaching quickly, but the first scene was Ji-young slapping Rona. Ji-young, feeling smug, slapped Rona directly in the face, sending her tumbling to the ground. The director not only didn't care about Rona, but felt that Ji-young had truly expressed her emotions. By the time the crew helped Rona up, her arm was already injured. Ji-young hypocritically asked if she could pretend to slap her, but the director said that only a real slap would feel real. When it was time to shoot the scene again, Ji-young deliberately forgot her lines after slapping Rona. Rona was speechless. Her face was already red from the slap, while Rona was fixing her makeup. Ji-young hypocritically expressed concern for Rona's injury. She even flirted with the director, saying that it was embarrassing to hit someone. But when it was time to shoot again, she slapped Rona hard across the face. Jae-ho, the manager, couldn't stand it anymore and asked Ji-young if she hadn't memorized her lines. How could you hit an actress like that? The director had to step in and say that Ji-young didn't mean it. Jae-ho was the manager that the company had assigned to Rona. He had fallen in love with Rona at first sight when he first met her, so when he saw Rona being bullied, he rushed up and got involved. When he learned that Rona had just been injured, Jae-ho immediately ran to the pharmacy. When it was time for a break, he immediately helped Rona treat her wound. In the second scene, the drama crew changed locations. The scene was about Rona being hit on by the male lead. Rona's understanding of the role was to be slightly aloof, but the director insisted that Rona should perform with a smile. Despite Rona's objections, the director insisted on his own ideas. After the shoot, Rona called In-seok out. She still felt that the scene should not have been filmed with a smile. This will definitely affect the development of the plot later. Rona hoped that In-seok could help explain to the director and reshoot it. But when In-seok returned to the set and suggested this to the director, he was rejected. After all the filming was over, Rona went back to the set to find the director again. She spoke with the director about her opinions and tried to fight for it one last time. The director felt that his authority had been violated. He angrily scolded Rona for being so ungrateful. "I'm already very unhappy with you." In-seok had to quickly pull the director away to prevent a bigger incident. Stubborn Rona returned to the car and summoned the courage to call Writer. She discussed the plot of the play with Writer and told her about what had happened today. Writer also felt that it was outrageous after listening to her. She immediately called the director's phone to make her position clear. This kind of performance completely contradicted her original characterization, but the director hung up on Writer directly, and when Writer called back again, the director lost his temper and lectured her, telling her not to teach him how to film. He then turned off his phone, so Writer called the producer and said firmly that if the director couldn't film that scene, then they should just find a new director. The producer realized the seriousness of the situation and immediately called the director, who was lectured at once that he should admit his mistake. Although the director was still unwilling, he had no choice but to return to the set under the strong leadership. Rona had been waiting in the parking lot and learned the news of the reshoot. She was very happy. After the director arrived, In-seok also asked him not to be angry with Rona after going to the set, although the director verbally agreed. He didn't want to lose face in front of a rookie. Then he came to the lounge to find Rona. Jae-ho knew that the visitor was not good and directly blocked in front of Rona. He rescued the beauty, but the director tried to push Jae-ho away and even started a fight. Jae-ho said that everyone was just trying to make a good movie and hoped that the director could think of something good. The furious director kept scolding Rona for not knowing the rules and for trying to drive a wedge between himself and the writer. At this time, the crew came in and called everyone to start shooting. In-seok immediately dragged the scolding director out. Rona also cried in tears of frustration when she scolded herself. Jae-ho comforts Rona, telling her not to take it too seriously. But when the two arrive at the filming location, the director goes on strike. The director feels that he can't lose face like this. The crew members on the set look at each other in confusion. Everyone can only let In-seok, who is the assistant director, carry out the final filming. Despite the twists and turns, fortunately Rona finally performed well. After the filming was over, Jae-ho didn't send Rona home, but took her to a bar. This bar was exactly the place where Rona and In-seok had made a promise to each other before. Rona looked at the familiar scene and fell into memories. Jae-ho comforted her. "This is the way the entertainment industry is. You don't have to care too much about it. I will definitely make you famous." Rona couldn't help but smile. Jae-ho was by her side to keep her company. She didn't seem so lonely anymore. On the way back, Rona received a text message from In-seok. It turned out that In-seok had gone to a cafe near Rona's house. He thought about the bits and pieces of the past with Rona and finally couldn't hold back and asked Rona to meet up. After the two met, In-seok even asked Rona if she was relying too much on him. "You thought I could help you by speaking up for you around the director, so you could do whatever you wanted?" Rona immediately retorted at In-seok. She was only giving suggestions based on the character's setting in the script, but the director not only didn't, but also ignored what she said. The person who was wrong was not herself at all. But In-seok said, "If you keep this up, you will definitely miss more opportunities. As a newcomer, you should be gentle and polite." Rona said that she would definitely seize this opportunity to become famous, even if the TV series doesn't become popular. As a newcomer, she still wants to gain the recognition of the audience. In-seok was very surprised. "Is it that urgent?" Ji-young also found In-seok and cooed at him, saying that she couldn't swim and was afraid that she wouldn't do well. In-seok was also speechless. If she couldn't swim, why hadn't she practiced in advance? When the actual filming began, the director disliked Rona in every way. Everyone could see it in their eyes. and it made you feel for Rona. It was finally over. Both of them were already shivering from the cold. Jae-ho specially brought over some hot soup that he had made to warm Rona up. Ji-young could only cast an envious glance. Jae-ho then took Rona out to dinner with his assistant. When they returned home, it was already night. Jae-ho suggested that he wanted to see the dog that Rona kept. Rona then took the dog and came to the park with Jae-ho for a walk. Jae-ho took the dog by the leash and ran around in the grass. Watching them run, Rona also remembered the scene she had with In-seok in the park before. After the filming was over, In-seok also accompanied the director out for a drink. He mentioned Rona to the director again. He felt that the director was taking revenge and was targeting a young girl like that. The director got angry and punched him directly. As a result, In-seok grabbed the director's fist and asked him to go for some psychological treatment. The director was so angry that he directly told In-seok to quit. In-seok was also speechless. Now it's just oneself who will tell you these things. Can't you feel the reaction of the crew? They are all cursing you in their hearts. The next day, In-seok did not go back to the film set. Instead, he called Rona again and asked her out. When Rona learned that In-seok had been fired for sticking up for her, she felt very guilty. In-seok told Rona not to argue with the director in the future. He once again asked Rona the reason for her sudden departure. Rona said that she had not yet been able to tell the director everything about her family situation. She just said that her family had gone bankrupt and that was why she had suddenly disappeared for 3 months and moved again. In-seok feels very guilty that he lost his temper when he didn't know anything about the situation. Just then, Rona receives a call from Jae-ho, who wants to take Rona to a beauty salon. However, Rona feels that the makeup artist on the drama set is doing a good job, so she rejects Jae-ho's proposal. In-seok is jealous and tells Rona to be careful with Jae-ho. He feels that Jae-ho is looking at Rona in a strange way, but Rona didn't feel anything. How could she guard against her own agent? After dinner, In-seok offered to drive Rona home. He asked if Rona still resented him. Rona was silent. She had thought that In-seok would at least ask if something had happened to her, but she didn't think she would even get the chance to explain. But now she was relieved. After returning home, In-seok told his sisters about being fired. The sisters were also very happy. This way, In-seok wouldn't have to see Rona every day. But the next morning the director called, and he was already at In-seok's house. After the two met, they acted as if nothing had happened. Not at all like they had just had a fight 2 days ago. At this time, Jae-ho picked up Rona. Because Rona's filming time was in the afternoon, they first went out to eat together. But after they finished eating, they received news from the crew that the filming had been cancelled temporarily due to heavy rain. So Rona suggested taking this opportunity to meet with the director. Then the two waited together downstairs at the director's house. The director was very surprised to see the two of them, and Rona suggested treating the director to dinner. The director gladly accepted, and after the director changed and arrived at the restaurant, Rona put aside her pride and took the initiative to apologize to the director, explaining that she really wanted to become famous, and had therefore done something that was not according to the rules. She hoped that the director could forgive her, and the director asked, "Is your family in a very poor condition?" Rona told the director about the family's misfortunes, and that the oneself was currently living in a monthly rental. The director did not expect Rona to have encountered these things. Rona said that she also wanted to bring snacks and drinks from home, but now the family still owes a large amount of debt without having paid it off. They simply cannot afford to buy these things. The director was very sympathetic towards Rona and her attitude towards her changed a lot. He even apologized for scolding Rona the last time. Then the director asked Rona about her relationship with In-seok. Rona said that she no longer had any feelings for In-seok, and that it was impossible for the two of them to start over. After finishing their meal, the director took the initiative to go to the front desk to pay the bill. He learned that Rona had already paid the bill, and the director even insisted that the clerk help refund the money. Rona was very grateful, and the director also encouraged Rona to practice well. The two of them thus put their differences aside. That day, his sister asked In-seok if he could get married this year. In-seok dared not speak out. Yoonmi unrelentingly said that Ji-young was the person she most wanted as her sister-in-law. She not only asked In-seok to get married quickly, but also told him to have a baby as soon as possible. Yoonji mocked his brother from the side, saying, "With your picky personality, you won't be able to find a suitable girlfriend at all." However, In-seok did not say anything. He was still in love with Rona, but he did not dare to tell his sisters. The next day on set, the director, who was usually very picky, didn't single out Rona for criticism, and even praised her after the shoot was over, saying that she had done a great job, both emotionally and in her lines. Rona was very happy. 2. Everything was going according to plan. Insiak was a little surprised by the director's change of heart. The director then told Insiak about Rona's meeting with her manager the previous day. He also told Insiak that he had asked Rona about her feelings for him. Rona's attitude was that she no longer had any attachment. Insiak was very disappointed when he heard this. Is this the end of their relationship? Rona was outside with Jaeho, laughing and eating popsicles. Insiak saw the two of them being intimate and felt very upset. But now that he had no status, there was nothing he could say. Ji-young walked over and spoke to Insiak. She hoped that Insiak could go and talk to the director and help change the script. Insiak gave her a cold shoulder and told her to go find the director and screenwriter herself. Then he turned his attention back to Rona and Jaeho. But Rona and Jaeho just glanced at him and continued chatting amongst themselves. In the afternoon, during a break in filming, Insiak found Rona and told her that it would be best if she got to know the other actors a bit, and didn't just spend all day chatting with her manager. But Rona said that apart from her family, she spent the most time with her manager. He took care of her day-to-day life, and she was very happy to have a good manager. Then Rona said, I think you and Ji-young are a perfect match. Before Insiak could react, Rona had already left. That night, Rona received another call from Insiak. He asked Rona to come to a party with the cast and crew. Rona didn't want to go, but she didn't want to be a party pooper, so she agreed. But as soon as Rona arrived, Jaeho called again. When he heard that Rona was outside, Jaeho immediately got up and prepared to rush over. At the party, everyone took turns performing. When it was Rona's turn to perform, Jaeho had just arrived. Rona happily sang and danced. Jaeho watched Rona perform with a smile on his face. When the party was over, Ji-young offered to escort the director home, and asked Insiak to accompany them. Insiak politely declined, saying that he would just take a taxi. When Rona left, he followed after her, hoping that Jaeho would be able to give him a lift home. Jaeho even got out of the car to see Rona safely to her door. As he watched the two of them leave together, Insiak also seemed to have drunk a few large cans of old vinegar. He got out of the car worried, but then stopped himself from following. It didn't seem like a good idea. When Jaeho dropped Insiak off at home, Insiak asked him to drop him off on the side of the road. Immediately afterwards, Insiak called Rona. He said he was downstairs at her house and had something he wanted to say. If you don't come down, I'll come up there myself. There was no choice but for Rona to go downstairs with a stiff upper lip. But as soon as they met, the two of them started arguing again. Rona questioned Insiak, saying that if he had wanted to draw a line with her, why had he come looking for her? Insiak questioned himself, wondering what he had done wrong. Before Rona left, she told Insiak, you're no longer attractive to me. You're just an assistant director with an okay face. That day, Rona went to the barber's and instantly caught the attention of the woman next to her. The woman started chatting with Rona, saying that she had a niece returning from overseas and wanted to get a gift for her that cost around 1,000 yuan. But since she only has a son, she can't use him as a reference. She wants to ask Rona if she has any good suggestions. Rona first recommends a natural hairbrush, which not only helps with blood circulation but also prevents static electricity. She suggests that the lady's son search online and buy it. The lady also smiles with satisfaction. Then Rona goes on to list a lot of other options for the lady. In Europe, you can give a scarf because the weather is very cold and a scarf is a very practical gift. And plastic storage boxes will keep clothes separate and drawers will appear very tidy. From Rona's introduction, the lady could also tell that she is a very clean girl. Rona's patient answers also made the lady feel good about her. The lady immediately said that she would pay for Rona's haircut. She also said that she wanted to introduce a good man to Rona, and the man in question is her son Jaeho. As Rona's agent, Jaeho has always hidden his identity as a chaebol son. His family is wealthy and he has no worries about food or drink. He became an agent just to learn in advance for starting his own business in the future. Just the other day, he told his family that he had fallen in love with Rona. Rona is like an angel to him. In order to get closer to Rona, Jaeho lied and said that he had a girlfriend. But in secret, he showed Rona's photos to his parents. Just by looking at the photo, his mother couldn't stop praising the girl, and when she saw Rona at the barber's shop for the first time, Jaeho's mother quickly recognized that she was the girl her son liked. After returning home, his mother called Jaeho and expressed her satisfaction with Rona. She told her son to show off his abilities in charm. However, at this time, Rona's heart had already been stirred by Insiak's words the previous day, because the director was sick. Insiak directed the next day's shoot. Insiak was very attentive throughout the shoot, helping Rona set the scene and striving for the perfect result. Halfway through the shoot, Insiak came over to Rona's side to help make adjustments. As a result, the two accidentally bumped into each other. Their colleagues immediately praised them, saying that they looked really good together. Jae-ho, who was nearby, sighed and exclaimed, "Are these people all suffering from cataracts?" After the shoot was over, In-seok found Rona and wanted to start again. He said gently, "I'll contact you again tonight." Rona hadn't even had time to react before the other person disappeared. This confession came out of the blue. In the evening, Rona took her dog for a walk in the park with Jae-ho. Jae-ho even took a photo with Rona. When they got home, the family talked about what had happened during the day. Jae-ho's mother could not hide her fondness for Rona. She even told Jae-ho to go online and buy himself the kind of comb Rona had mentioned. Jae-ho's father was also very excited about this. They can't wait for their son to marry Rona and make her their daughter-in-law. Jae-ho shows his father the photo he just took with Rona. His mother is overjoyed and already looking forward to it. Jae-ho is very confident about this. Apart from sleeping, Rona is always with him. It seems she is gradually becoming dependent on me. But after Jae-ho and Rona part ways, In-seok comes looking for him. The two of them go and talk on a bench in the street. In-seok even flirted with her at this time. He said that he had really missed Rona during that time and that it was the first time he had been so worried about someone. He admitted his mistakes at the time and said that he wanted to start over with Rona. Rona said that the company did not allow dating and that she was too busy making money to think about love. But In-seok understood that Rona still had feelings for him. He hoped that both of them could ask themselves honestly about their feelings for each other. It's not too late to make a decision. This way, there won't be any regrets, right? In-seok couldn't help but lean in towards Rona and give her a kiss. But he held back. Rona's heart seemed to gradually open up to In-seok. At In-seok's request, Rona cancelled the words of blessing him in Ji-young happiness. They also smiled and said goodbye to each other. The next day during filming, Jae-ho's parents even disguised themselves and came to the filming site. The two stood in the distance, secretly observing Rona. Jae-ho's father was instantly attracted to Rona's extraordinary temperament. But during the shoot, the umbrella suddenly broke, and the staff did not have a spare umbrella. Just as everyone was getting anxious, In-seok noticed an elderly couple holding an umbrella nearby. The assistant director quickly signaled the staff nearby to borrow an umbrella. Jae-ho also recognized his disguised parents at this time. Jae-ho's mother asked her husband what he thought of Rona. Jae-ho's father was at a loss for words and could only describe her as beautiful. After the shoot, Jae-ho's father even rushed up to ask for a photo with Rona. Rona and In-seok also started flirting with each other at this time. After the photo shoot, Jae-ho's father left contentedly. Jae-ho's mother couldn't help but worry for her son when she saw the two of them. Back home, Jae-ho's father couldn't stop smiling as he looked at the photos on his phone. He teased, "If Jae-ho's mother takes Rona out shopping in the future, people will definitely mistake them for mother and daughter." When Jae-ho returned home that evening, he asked his parents about their day. Jae-ho said that after the drama ended, he would declare his love for Rona and propose to her. But his mother mentioned her concerns from earlier. She had seen Rona smiling at a handsome guy. In her experience as a woman, that smile was no ordinary smile. It was more like a kind of telepathic connection. Upon learning that the person in question was In-seok, Jae-ho also expressed the impossibility. That day, Yoonmi invited Ji-young's mother to her home. She did not hide her affection for Ji-young in the least, and directly expressed her hope that Ji-young would become her sister-in-law. In-seok and Ji-young are both people who will not take the initiative. If I don't step forward, I don't know how long it will take for them to get together. Yoonmi also told Ji-young's mother that she had asked the director to fire In-seok and let him rest at home for a while before pushing him to get married. When Ji-young's mother asked what In-seok thought, Yoonmi said that as long as we, as sisters, liked each other, everything would be fine. Unaware of what was going on, In-seok was still sending messages to Rona to cultivate their relationship. In-seok was angry when he learned that Jae-ho had brought Rona lunch again. He angrily said that the manager was meddling too much. Rona was beaming with a smile, and Jae-ho muttered to himself, wondering who he was texting so happily with. After arriving at the filming location, Jae-ho and Rona took the dog for a walk together. The two of them looked so intimate that In-seok happened to see them. In-seok immediately walked over and asserted his dominance. As soon as the dog saw In-seok, it also enthusiastically came up to say hello. Jae-ho, who didn't know about the two of them, still acted foolishly and said that this was his dog. Since no one was at home to take care of it, he had brought it out. In-seok didn't expose Jae-ho's lie, but instead said in a strange voice, from a distance, It looks like a family taking their dog out for a walk. Inseok then took Rona away under the pretext of filming. He took the opportunity to proclaim his ownership in front of Rona. Jae-ho either likes to meddle in other people's business or he has a crush on you. He also told Rona to come to him first if she encountered any problems in the future. Rona smiled awkwardly. Will your sisters accept me? Soon after, the director fired Inseok. The director said someone would be coming to take over your job. I'll explain the reason to you after the drama is over. Inseok was very surprised. Could it be that his sister had gone to the director and said something? Although the director didn't say it, Inseok understood what was going on. The next day at breakfast, his sister told Inseok and Ji-young to try dating. Inseok said he would not marry a girl he didn't feel anything for, but his sister said that she had already agreed with Ji-young's mother about your marriage. Inseok was also shocked by his sister's approach. I haven't even spent any time with Ji-young, and you guys are already talking about getting married? Inseok angrily said that whoever agreed to the marriage should just go marry Ji-young. Yoonmi watched her younger brother leave and relentlessly chased after him, saying that you can only be happy if you listen to me. Then she guessed that it must be Rona seducing her younger brother. At this time, Rona had already arrived at the film set. Today is the period drama scene. Rona changed into a hanbok. Even though it is only the clothes of a maid, Jae-ho is still dazzled by Rona's peerless beauty. There is still some time before filming starts, so the two of them wandered around the set together. When Rona was attracted by the beautiful Haehyun, Jae-ho bought her without saying a word. After they returned to the filming site, Inseok looked at the beautiful woman in front of him and couldn't take his eyes off her. And Rona, for the first time ever, responded to him. After filming began, Jae-ho called Inseok aside. He hoped that Inseok and the screenwriter would suggest that Rona's character die before the male lead in the show. That way, when the TV series was released, Rona would be able to leave a deeper impression on the audience. Inseok immediately agreed. In the break between filming, Inseok took out his phone and called Rona over to take a photo with her. The silly Jae-ho even volunteered to help, but when it came time to take the photo, Inseok took the initiative to put his arm around Rona's shoulder. Jae-ho was a little stunned. How did this guy get his hands on her? And Ji-young, who was standing nearby, was instantly jealous. She was so angry that she fainted. The scene was in chaos, and filming had to be temporarily suspended. On the way back, Ji-young's eyes were blazing with laser beams. She could never recover from the shock. She wished she could die right there and then. Ji-young was still very angry about Inseok asking Rona to take a photo with him. Her mother kept comforting her after learning the reason for the incident, but Ji-young seemed to have gone crazy, pounding her head against the pillow. Her mother quickly took Ji-young in her arms. Could it be that Ji-young has some kind of trauma? Rona also had a rare moment of leisure due to the cancellation of the shoot, so she went to the amusement park with Jae-ho and the assistant. They watched the parade, rode the pirate ship and the carousel. Jae-ho even bought Rona ice cream and took pictures. Everyone had a great time. In the evening, when Jae-ho was taking Rona home, Inseok was hiding nearby, silently watching the two of them. Seeing them laughing and talking, Inseok was very angry. After Jae-ho left, Rona and Inseok sat down and started their date. Inseok wanted Rona to replace Jae-ho as her manager and take over the job himself. Rona felt that this was not at all ethical and refused immediately. When the two said their reluctant goodbyes, Inseok was even more tender as he confessed his love to Rona. He hoped that Rona would be able to trust him with her whole heart. Rona couldn't hold back her laughter and love as she walked down the hallway. Poor Jae-ho still doesn't know what's going on. He's lying in bed alone, thinking about the happy time he spent with Rona during the day. The next day, before Inseok leaves the house, his sisters stop him. They bring up the subject of Inseok getting married again. They won't let up, and they tell Inseok to try dating Ji-young. Inseok, however, says that he plans to start over with Rona. When his sisters hear this, they can't believe it. Yoonmi even says, "You think we'll treat Rona well?" Inseok did not give in and hoped that his sisters would really think about themselves. Yoonji could not help but sigh. Our worst fears have come true. Yoonmi, the sister with a strong desire for control, could no longer stand it. Several of the sisters knew about Rona's family bankruptcy. They did not like Rona in the first place, and now they would never agree to this. So Yoonmi decided to take a risk and invite Rona and her brothers out to sort things out face to face. It turns out that Inseok's 3 sisters and Rona's 3 brothers have known each other for a long time. Rona's Youngkyu is now the lobby manager at Yoonmi's restaurant. Youngkyul once wanted to model a sculpture for Yoonhae, and Rona's Youngsik was Yoonji's driver for a while. The encounter between the two families can really only be described as wonderful, but because Inseok's sisters spoke very badly of Rona, and they also had some friction with Rona's brothers during their time together, Youngsik Young-sik sent Yoonji home to help sort out the broken picture frame pieces on the floor in the room, and he recognized In-seok as the boyfriend who had previously walked Rona home. Young-sik tentatively asked Yoonji if she knew Rona, and Yoonji said, "Are you talking about that mentally ill woman?" Hearing the other person actually scold his beloved younger sister like this, Young-sik was also very angry, so the two of them went to a coffee shop and began a formal argument. Young-sik felt that there was no reason for you to look down on your sister like this when the two of them were dating. Your brother's qualifications were in no way comparable to my sister. Yoonji was very disdainful. My brother is, however, a famous best-selling author, and your sister is nothing more than an unemployed bum. Looking at Yoonji's arrogant and unreasonable expression, even the previously polite Young-sik could not hold back his temper. Yoonji defended himself, saying that he did not look down on Rona, but rather that Rona had behaved rudely towards himself and his sister. However, Young-sik knew that his sister did everything for a reason. He praised Rona as a capable and sensible girl, even if there was a maid in the house. Rona could cook a good meal. After graduating from university, she planned to open a business herself for the Chinese market. As she listened to the man across the table harangue her endlessly, Yoonji became so angry that she splashed a glass of water in his face. But the battle between the two did not end there. They continued to exchange insults. But Yoonji simply could not match Young-sik's insults. She stood up angrily, wanting to get her hands on him, but Young-sik grabbed her hand. She continued to rant and rave until the waiter at the cafe came over and stopped Young-sik. At this time, Rona's Youngkyu was driving Yoonmi home. On the way, Yoonmi mentioned the TV series her brother had just created. Youngkyu was very surprised, but he did not say that his sister Rona also starred in this TV series. Yoonmi then began to talk about the maid in this drama who was her brother's crazy fan. She also scolded the other party for being a total vixen. Youngkyu instantly lost his temper after hearing this and immediately pulled over to the side of the road. He told Yoonmi that the maid was his sister. Yoonmi was flabbergasted. How could there be such a coincidence in the world? So the two of them argued with each other in order to defend their families. Yoonmi said that Rona was obviously a fake reporter who had approached her brother. It was obvious that she had a problem with her character. Youngkyu couldn't believe it. His sister was the daughter of the Queen Group. How could she pretend to be a reporter and chase after a writer? Yoonmi's eyes widened the moment she heard the name Queen Group. Instead of arguing any further, she told Youngkyu to drive home first. When Yoonmi arrived home, her sister was already waiting there. Yoonji told her that Rona was the daughter of the CEO of Queen Food Group. After some discussion, Yoonhye also remembered that her model was Rona's brother. Yoonji was shocked to learn of Rona's identity. In the end, Yoonmi proposed that they must not tell In-seok about Rona, or else In-seok will definitely start to sympathize with Rona and the two will fall in love again. But what they didn't expect was that the two of them actually got back together. The next day Yoonmi went to the restaurant and found Youngkyu and said bluntly, "Let's each call out our younger siblings and talk things out face to face." They agreed and set up a meeting for that evening. But at this time, an unknowing In-seok happily called Rona on the phone and told her, "I've already asked the screenwriter to have your character die first in the drama. This will make the character stand out more." In-seok also asked Rona to bring her dog to a motel that night. But what they didn't know was what this meeting really meant. When it was time to eat, Rona and her brothers met Youngkyu in the elevator and told her about meeting with In-seok's sisters today. Rona's three brothers all helped In-seok's three sisters after their bankruptcy. Yoonmi firmly stated that she would not agree to her younger brother marrying Rona. She also said with righteous indignation that she really hated Rona. Youngkyu scolded these sisters of In-seok, saying that none of them were good people. He told the two of them not to see each other again from that day on. "My younger sister has never had a care in the world and has never suffered a single injustice since she was a child. I absolutely cannot tolerate you continuing to bully her." My brother told Rona to immediately state her attitude. In-seok became anxious and said that he would take good care of Rona. But Yoonmi also began to press Rona. "Miss Rona, what is your opinion?" Rona said that she could break up with In-seok afterwards. In-seok questioned why our family should decide our relationship, but Rona said that she was tired and she didn't want to be treated as the guilty party anymore. Then Yoonmi and Youngkyu began to argue again. Facing Youngkyu's provocation, Yoonmi made In-seok immediately make up his mind to break up with her. Yoonmi said that she already had the perfect daughter-in-law in mind. Youngkyu burst out laughing when she realized it was Ji-young. Rona also reluctantly agreed that the two of them were a perfect match. Rona and her brother left the restaurant without even eating. When they got home that night, In-seok had been waiting downstairs for a long time. He wanted to speak to Rona alone, but Youngkyu said, "I want to have a serious talk with you." The two went to a cafe, where Youngkyu also proposed a solution. "If you want to be with my sister, then break off ties with your sister." The next day, Rona changed her phone number and returned to her busy work. Fortunately, Jaeho was still by Rona's side. He helped Rona sign up for a very famous weight loss commercial. He also asked if there was anything she wanted to do. So Jaeho accompanied Rona to the park to relax on a bicycle. The two were full of smiles, feeling the happiness of spring. Meanwhile, Inseok was wandering aimlessly down the street. Drunk, he missed Rona so much, but the once familiar number had become a disconnected one. After returning home, the three sisters once again pressured Inseok. Inseok angrily declared that he would take Rona and live with her. Naeon took the lead and began a scheme of self-harm. Yoonji followed suit and started crying. "We have spent our entire lives taking care of you, but you still choose Rona over your sister who raised you?" Inseok, who had been morally blackmailed, had no choice but to compromise. The next day, Ji-young asked Inseok out. She had specially dressed up to talk to Inseok about their marriage. Inseok also said without any hesitation, "I have no interest in you at all." But Ji-young was not going to give up. She called for 2 bottles of red wine and planned to try out her method on someone else. After a few drinks, Ji-young said she wanted to be Inseok's sister. Inseok then told her that he already had someone he liked. Ji-young's eyes went straight. "What about our marriage? Your sister even asked me if I had any thoughts about dating." Ji-young immediately felt insulted. When she got home drunk, Rona was sitting in her living room. Ji-young angrily slapped Rona in the face. She couldn't accept losing to a woman who was inferior in every way to herself. Rona did not resist but chose to flee the scene. However, Ji-young kept rambling on and on. She felt so ashamed in front of Inseok. After leaving, Rona did not tell Jaeho about what had just happened. She just said that Ji-young had drunk too much and lost her mind. They went to the basketball court to relax. Jaeho received a call from Ji-young's mother at this time. It turned out that Ji-young had been paying attention to Jaeho during this time. Jaeho's meticulous care for Rona was all in her eyes. Ji-young wanted to lure Jaeho to her side with a high salary, but the talent agency's several attempts to negotiate with Jaeho ended in failure. Ji-young's mother also decided to take matters into her own hands. She wanted to start with Rona, but Ji-young had ruined the meeting. There was nothing she could do. So Ji-young's mother had no choice but to call Jaeho. When the two met the next day, Ji-young's mother simply offered to pay Jaeho more. After all, an actor could only develop better with a good agent. But how would Ji-young's mother know that money was the least of Jaeho's concerns? He was only working for Rona because he liked her. Jaeho thus rejected Ji-young's mother's kindness, and even said that he could introduce a better agent to her. The next day was the press conference for the TV series. Jaeho's father volunteered to send flowers to Rona in the name of a fan. Jaeho's mother was a little angry. "We've been together for more than 30 years, and I've never received a single rose from you." So Jaeho's father not only arranged for an employee to send flowers to Rona, but also sent his wife 100 roses. At the same time, Rona also came to the press conference. She even ran into Ji-young while parking the car, and neither of them gave the other a good look. When they arrived upstairs together, several people noticed the flower basket placed in the most conspicuous location, and the signature on it was Rona's #1 fan. The director came over and exclaimed in amazement, "Our Rona already has a fan so soon." Ji-young sneered, "It can't be from a relative, can it?" Then the flower baskets for the other actors arrived. Ji-young, the female lead, was the only one who got nothing. Meanwhile, Jaeho's father had also sent his wife a flower basket, but Jaeho's mother was furious when she saw the rose basket. It even said, "To my dear parasite wife." Jaeho's mother was also speechless with her husband. That night, Ji-young's mother came to Rona's house with a gift and paid her a visit. She proposed an incredible idea, that Rona marry her eldest son. Ji-young's mother and Rona's mother were like real sisters. The two families are also intricately linked, but she wants Rona to be her daughter-in-law because her eldest son is bisexual. Ji-young's mother offers to provide a spacious house after the two get married. After Ji-young gets married, "I will live with your mother." After all, the elderly will not become demented if they have company. She tells Rona not to worry about money, to work if she wants to study if she wants to. Rona looked troubled. Her 3 brothers had all left the country because of their sick wives. Although she had never met her in-law's son twice, Rona wondered if she should consider the matter for her mother's sake. The next day at work, Rona brought up the matter with Jaeho. Jaeho almost jumped up and objected. He said that one should marry the person one liked. Besides, you should concentrate on your work now. After Jaeho's enlightenment, Rona temporarily dismissed the idea. Inseok was so sad that he also went to Jeju Island alone to let off some steam. But while he was jogging in the morning, he saw a couple taking pictures with their dog. At that moment, Inseok once again remembered Rona. He could no longer hold back his feelings of missing her. So Inseok dialed Jaeho's phone number. He asked Jaeho for Rona's new number. Then Rona walked in. Jaeho began to worry, and when Inseok asked if he was with Rona, he lied as well. Jae-ho told Inseok to let him relay whatever he wanted to say, and he did not agree to give Inseok Rona's new number. When they returned to the restaurant, Jae-ho told Rona about this. Inseok's phone followed suit and rang again. Rona's face turned very pale with panic. She told Jae-ho not to answer, but her heart was already in turmoil. In the evening, after Jae-ho left, Inseok had been waiting in the hallway of Rona's house for a long time, so the two of them went to the roadside to talk. Inseok even proposed right away, "Let's get married." Rona ignored him and turned to leave, but Inseok wouldn't give up, saying, "If you agree, I'll convince your family." But even so, Rona did not give in. She was very grateful for Inseok's intentions, but this was not the time to get married. No matter how Inseok begged, Rona did not waver in her resolve. Inseok did not give up. The next day, he put on a suit and went to Rona's house alone. He had come to visit Rona's mother. Inseok first introduced himself and explained his relationship with Rona. Then he asked Rona's mother to help him. Rona's mother remembered that her daughter had once shown her a photo of Inseok, but when she learned that her son was strongly opposed to the idea, she also fell silent. That evening, after Rona returned home, her mother told her about Inseok's visit. Her mother said that after meeting him during the day, she had a very good impression of Inseok. He was a good person and very good looking, but Rona's heart was in turmoil. She immediately called Inseok and asked him not to come again. After a lot of arguing, the two finally concluded that neither would give in. The next day, on the way to work, Jae-ho asked Rona about her birthday. He said that the company wanted to know the birthdays of the artists to help them, but Rona felt very burdened and refused to say. Jae-ho asked for a while and promised to keep her secret. He learned that Rona's birthday was tomorrow. Jae-ho was also taken aback. If he hadn't asked, he would have missed it. He promised to help Rona prepare a birthday cake. Jae-ho also specially stayed up with Rona until midnight to send a birthday greeting. When he got home, Jae-ho even went to his parents' room to tell them about Rona's birthday. As soon as Jae-ho left, his mother couldn't hold back her excitement and ran to prepare the birthday seaweed soup for the next day. If Rona marries Jae-ho, she will definitely be spoiled. The next day, Jae-ho's mother not only prepared a birthday cake and seaweed soup, but also a particularly sumptuous birthday meal for Jae-ho to take with him. Rona was very moved when she saw all these delicacies. When she left in the morning, she thought her mother would prepare seaweed soup for her. However, it seemed that her mother had forgotten that it was her birthday. Watching Jae-ho's mother prepare all this for herself, Rona felt very warm in her heart. Jae-ho even specially prepared a video of his own to wish her a happy birthday while they ate the cake. Rona couldn't help but smile. This is just too cute. Subsequently, Rona proposed to invite Jae-ho's mother to dinner to express her gratitude. Jae-ho remembered that Rona had already met his mother before. He said that they could meet again after the TV series ended. At this time, Inseok once again came to Rona's house. He met Rona's mother downstairs when she went downstairs to take out the trash. Rona's mother said that her daughter had specifically told her not to let you come before she left, but Inseok still had the nerve to go upstairs with Rona's mother. He wrote Rona's mother's name in the book he had published and gave it to her. Inseok also brought delicious seafood ingredients to help Rona's mother make soup. With Inseok's company at home, Rona's mother also had a very happy day. She wasn't as bored at home alone. Looking at Inseok's sensible and kind appearance, Rona's mother seems to have accepted this future son-in-law from the bottom of her heart. In the evening, Jae-ho also sent Rona home. She thanked Jae-ho for taking care of her, and teased Jae-ho about whether he was going to see his girlfriend later. It so happened that Jae-ho's phone rang at this time the two said their goodbyes. Rona returned home and was surprised to see her mother reading Inseok's novel. When she learned that Inseok had come to the house again, Rona was a little upset. She complained to her mother that she had already said not to open the door to him. My mom explained that I just happened to run into him when I was taking out the trash. Inseok not only cooks for me, but also takes me and Dogsy for walks, tells me jokes to make me happy. Rona's mother's words all express her own fondness for Inseok. But despite this, Rona still feels that Inseok's sisters are impossible to get along with. My mom comforts Rona, saying that no partner is 100% perfect. Compared to Inseok's sister's problems, it's much better to have Inseok himself. Rona's mother said that she could leave the sisters' problems to Inseok to solve, and that since they had such a good match, they should seize the opportunity. Rona's mother even heard from Inseok that Jae-ho actually didn't have a girlfriend, and she told Rona to be careful with Jae-ho. Rona was very angry after hearing this and defended Jae-ho. When she returned to her room, she sent a message to Inseok asking to meet him the next morning. She wanted to sort this matter out once and for all. Jae-ho returns home and tells his mother that Rona, in order to express her gratitude, is treating him to dinner after the shoot. Jaeho's mother is overjoyed to hear this. It seems that her efforts have paid off. The next morning, Rona went to the cafe to meet In-seok. As soon as she saw him, she scolded him for talking behind other people's backs. In-seok was a little angry. Is that why you wanted to meet? He felt that all the things Jaeho was doing for Rona were just to make money. He even said that he should just open an agency himself. Rona didn't want to get into a big argument with him. She just asked him not to bother her mother anymore. If this goes on, what am I supposed to do when your sisters come looking for me? In-seok didn't think so. When the two of them were together, their relationship was clearly so pure that they didn't care about each other's family conditions and had already agreed to get married. In-seok also wants to go back to that time. But Rona has considered it from In-seok's sister's perspective. She really doesn't want to get involved anymore. Otherwise, it would be too cheeky. Just then, Jaeho's phone rang. Because there was still an interview, Rona didn't linger too much. Jaeho then accompanied Rona for the interview. Rona answered the reporter's questions fluently, and the reporter exclaimed that Rona didn't seem like a rookie actress at all. The interview went very smoothly, and the report came out soon. Jaeho shared it with his parents first. The report praised Rona all day and his parents were very happy after hearing it. But while some people rejoiced, others were sad. Ji-young saw the report and flew into a rage. As the female lead, she herself hadn't even been notified of the interview. Yoonmi saw the news and quickly grabbed the newspaper, waking up her two younger sisters. What if In-seok saw the news? The girls even wondered if Rona had secretly given the reporter something in return. Yoonmi thought that the person who wrote the article about Rona must be a man. Yoonji also cursed Rona, calling her a vixen. She also said that In-seok must never have anything to do with her again. But what they didn't know was that In-seok had started to please Rona's mother in order to woo her. In-seok tried to please Rona's mother every day in different ways. After the shoot ended that day, Rona asked In-seok out. When they met, she took out a gift certificate and gave it to In-seok as a way of repaying him for spending time with her mother every day. In-seok angrily shoved the gift certificate back at her and scolded her for worrying about money when she should be thinking about her own mother. Rona retorted that she had done everything a daughter could do. In-seok said, I've only realized through spending time together these past few days that your mother hasn't been out in a long time. Rona's mother even said that because she was old, she was once mistaken for Rona's grandmother when she took Rona out. Rona felt so ashamed of this that after that, the two of them rarely went out together. In-seok felt so bad for Rona's mother and said that he would help take care of her in the future. Rona was very grateful. She didn't feel ashamed of her mother. Under the current circumstances, she could only leave her mother at home alone. Rona retorted, In-seok, you can't even solve your own problems, so why are you meddling in other people's business? In-seok said that he would solve everything one by one. He told Rona to wait for him at the entrance. Then he went inside to get the car keys and prepare to take Rona home. However, when In-seok came out, Rona had already left. Her phone was also turned off. In-seok was worried about Rona's safety and hurriedly drove after her. When he caught up with Rona downstairs, In-seok angrily lost his temper. He was worried that Rona would have an accident alone in the car. Seeing In-seok so concerned about himself, Rona also apologized to him like a child who had made a mistake. In-seok invited Rona to get back in his car and listen to a song together as a way of repaying her. When the two were about to part ways, In-seok couldn't hold back his emotions any longer and went up to hug Rona. He felt the long-lost breath and warmth. Rona also gave up resisting, and the two reconciled like this. In-seok also finally left contentedly. During dinner, Rona heard the joke In-seok had told her mother. Rona said she had heard that joke a long time ago. Her mother was disappointed and said, Then why didn't you tell me? Rona then realized that she had perhaps neglected her mother. After dinner, Jaeho came to pick Rona up as usual. He told her some good news. He had already helped her land a major commercial. What's more, the owner of the advertising agency himself had set it up. Rona was so excited that a smile appeared on her lips. However, when she arrived at the film set, her assistant told her that her scene had been postponed again due to a conflict. So Rona took a taxi to leave the film set during a break, and her destination turned out to be In-seok's house. Rona gathered her courage and decided to go in. Everyone was very surprised at Rona's sudden visit. Rona formally told In-seok's sisters that she had thought about it for a long time and decided that she still wanted to marry In-seok. She also said that although she is currently lacking in many ways, she will definitely work hard to correct them. In-seok even directly called out to his sisters. Yoonmi. Hearing this, Yoonmi lost her temper. Am I that easy to bully? Obviously. You have promised everything before. Why do you have to find Yoonmi now? Let Rona leave quickly. I am old enough to be your mother. Rona changed her once domineering manner and meekly ingratiated herself with her sisters. Yunmi simply could not understand why Rona had such a thick skin, but Rona said she would soon have a big advertising deal and be able to pay off her debts. Yunmi didn't think so, however, and warned Rona not to come again, or she would be angry next time for sure. That evening, Yunmi called and asked her brother to come home for dinner. At that time, Inseok was still hanging out with Rona's mother. The sisters were very curious about what Inseok did every day. He left early in the morning and didn't return until late at night. They even planned to investigate Inseok's car's black box. Yoonji took the car keys while Inseok was in the shower, and after removing the memory card, the few of them looked at it surreptitiously. After taking a shower, Inseok went to his sister's room, and the few of them hurriedly hid their phones. At this time, Inseok also became suspicious. Yunmi ran out with the excuse of helping Inseok do the laundry. Yoonji awkwardly changed the subject and said that her sister was followed by a strange man today. Yoonhye finds it ridiculous. Watching her sister keep talking, she can only admit that. Just then, Yoonji's phone hidden under the quilt started ringing. She awkwardly took out her phone. Day6 seemed to understand something as well. After Inseok left, the sisters didn't feel like checking the dashcam again. Yoonhye told her sister to quickly put the memory card back. Inseok returned to his room and called Rona. Rona was happy to meet Inseok, but when Inseok was about to leave, he saw his sisters sneaking around. Yoonji was immediately shocked. Inseok angrily snatched the memory card from his sister's hand and threw it hard out of the car. Yoonji was so embarrassed that she could only get out of the car. Inseok then went to Rona's house. The two of them went to the park to go on a date. Rona shared the news that she had signed a new commercial with Inseok. She said that she now had to start managing her image properly. Inseok joked that if they were to go public with their relationship, then her value would definitely increase. Rona thought about it for a while and then told him about meeting his sister. When she told him that she had been rejected, Inseok felt very distressed. He persuaded Rona to give up on his sister and let him handle it himself. But Rona was determined and said that since she had started, she would see it through. The misunderstanding between the women had to be resolved. Otherwise it would definitely be difficult to get along in the future. Rona told Inseok to just pretend that he didn't know anything. Seeing how determined Rona was, Inseok didn't think much of it. He suggested going to the supermarket together to buy ice cream, but Rona was worried that she would be recognized by passers-by. It wouldn't be good if there was a scandal. Inseok suggested carrying her on his back. Whenever there were people around, she could hide her face on his back. On the way, he playfully shouted that the big star was being carried away by himself. Passers-by who saw the two of them in love also cast envious glances. On the way back, Inseok promised that he would carry Rona on his back for the rest of their lives. The two also promised to go to the country fair together once the drama was over. Watching the two of them quietly enjoying their time together, if it weren't for Inseok's sisters, they would have been so happy. At this time, Rona told Inseok that he didn't need to come to her house anymore starting tomorrow. I've already changed my mind. You've also impressed my mother. However, Inseok said that Rona's home would be his own studio in the future. He would always help take care of Rona's mother. He also talked about the future, saying that he wanted to have a son. He even had a name picked out already. Rona was a little embarrassed. It's still a little early to talk about that. Inseok told Rona not to pay too much attention to what his sister said, because in the end, it's not my sisters who will be spending the rest of their lives with you. Rona was very moved. She was also content and said goodbye to Inseok. After Inseok returned home, he called his sisters into the living room and vented his anger at them about the dashcam incident. He also told his sisters to mind their own business in the future. They are all in their 40s, so they should mind their own business more. The next day, Rona took a taxi to Inseok's house alone. After the nanny took Rona in, her sisters were all stunned. As soon as Rona sat down, she apologized to her three sisters one by one for their previous unreasonable behavior. She promised that she would never contradict her sisters again and begged them to accept her. Yoonji's temper immediately flared up and she told Rona to leave immediately. Yoonmi, in order to completely dishearten Rona, said that she had already found a marriage partner for Inseok. And Yoonji added that the two families had already discussed the date for the wedding. If you really like Inseok, you should let go of him. She even threatened Rona that if she kept pestering him like this, she would find a reporter to write a story and tell everyone that you are after Inseok. Rona looked troubled and said that she would call Inseok to confirm. If it is true, I will give up. Yoonji said not to call and just meet to talk instead. Rona gave a smug smile and said she would definitely try her best to be a good sister-in-law. After Rona left, The sisters were in a mess. They didn't realize that Rona was so difficult to deal with. If Inseok found out, it would all be for nothing. Yunhai felt that since the two people loved each other, they should just say yes, but her older and younger sisters were adamant in their stance. Then Yunmi got Rona's address from the director. She was going to go and talk to Rona's mother herself to put pressure on her and settle everything before Inseok found out. Yoonji's sisters agreed. They also decided to tell her about the marriage partner they had already chosen for Inseok. They were even confident that Inseok would like the girl as soon as he met her. Meanwhile, Inseok was at Rona's house, having dinner with them. Inseok even recited ancient poetry for Rona's mother. He then asked about Rona's visit to his house today. Inseok learned that his sisters had behaved very badly and advised Rona not to go back again. Just leave everything to oneself. When they said goodbye, he even gave Rona a kiss. Rona couldn't help but feel her heart flutter. After returning home, Inseok told his family about getting back together with Rona. He even said that the two of them would get married. He said that he would only be happy if he married Rona. Yunmi thought Inseok had called Inseok to tell him about what happened during the day. But Inseok told his sister that it was only after he had gone to see her every day that she had finally come around. Despite this, Yunmi still told Inseok about the person she had chosen to marry, hoping that Inseok would get to know him for a while. Inseok firmly stated that he would not marry any other woman but Rona. The sisters returned to their room at a loss for what to do. Could it be that the two of them had already made up and that was why Rona had come to see us in the morning? Yunmi angrily stated that even if she changed her surname, she would never accept Rona as her sibling. The next day, the sisters left early to go find Rona's mother. Yunhai was worried that Inseok would turn his back on them if he found out, and suggested that the two of them communicate properly. However, Yunmi and her younger sister did not think so. They insisted that they must make a scene in order to completely end their relationship. When they arrived, they looked at the dilapidated house and disliked it very much. Under pressure from her sisters, Yunhai had no choice but to follow. Yoonji came to Rona's house and immediately revealed her identity. Rona's mother warmly welcomed them. However, Yunmi always looked suspicious and condescending. She said without hesitation that she didn't like Rona being with Inseok. Rona's mother said that her daughter's current conditions were a bit lacking, but compared to Inseok, she was not too far behind in terms of education or appearance. Before Rona's mother could finish speaking, she was interrupted directly by the other party. Yunmi once again stated that under no circumstances would she accept them getting together. She even forced Rona's mother to make a statement. "My brother is so well off. Your family's simply not good enough." Faced with the strong-willed few, Rona's mother could not help but shed tears. But the two sisters did not want to let go of the elderly woman in front of them just like that. They continued to verbally attack Rona's mother. Just then, Rona walked in. Looking at the three uninvited guests and her tearful mother, Rona angrily questioned what they had actually said to her mother. Afraid that Rona would lose her temper, her mother told the intruders to leave. But Yunmi, who was stubborn, did not know how to behave and insisted on getting a definite answer. Seeing her aggrieved mother, Rona's emotions finally exploded. "Go back and ask your younger brother what's going on." Rona told the intruders to tell her mother what they had told her and she would answer for herself. Yunmi said that if the roles were reversed, she would not be able to accept someone like you as her sister-in-law, because you are always self-righteous and arrogant. Rona went to the bathroom and took out her phone to call Inseok. It so happened that Inseok had also arrived at the house. Seeing that all three sisters were there, Inseok was very surprised. Yunmi also asked him if he came here every day, so he needed a car. Rona angrily told the story of what happened. "If I hadn't forgotten to bring my phone back, I wouldn't have known what your sisters would do to my mom." Inseok apologized to Rona's mother. Rona told Inseok to make a promise in front of everyone to end our relationship. She blamed the three of them for knowing their family's situation but still inviting them over. "Do I have to beg on my knees to marry your brother?" Seeing the situation deadlocked, Inseok could only ask his sisters to go home and talk it over. Yunmi even firmly stated that she had to hear a promise. Rona swore that she would never marry Inseok in her life. Finally, Yunmi took the lead and stood up, getting ready to leave. Inseok turned his head to comfort Rona. "We won't change." Rona angrily shook him off. "I don't need your promise." After the three sisters left, they didn't feel guilty. They were angry when they thought about how Rona had just glared at them. They scolded Rona for being a vixen. Fortunately, after such a fight, there would be no hope between the two. After returning home, Yunhai thought that Inseok would definitely apologize to Rona. But Yunmi smugly believes that after such a scene, even if Inseok writes a pledge, Rona will not change her mind. Just then, Inseok returned and told them the whole story. He scolded his sisters for treating Rona's mother like that. He told his sisters that he was no longer a 3-year-old child, so please leave him alone. The next day, Inseok waited downstairs at Rona's house and just happened to meet Jaeho, who had driven there. He wanted to talk to Rona, but Rona didn't give him the chance. Rona coldly got into Jaeho's car and left. When Inseok drove up behind them, Rona told Jaeho to get rid of him. The two of them then went to a cafe together. Rona told Jaeho about her relationship with Inseok. Jaeho was very surprised to hear it. Rona told him that she wanted to end it for good this time. She hoped that Jaeho could help her. When the two of them returned to the set, Inseok had been waiting for a long time. Jaeho stood in front of Rona and led Inseok to the cafe. He told Inseok directly that Rona had told him everything, and that she no longer had any feelings for him. He advised Inseok to stay away from her. The arrogant Inseok looked down on Jaeho, and thought that he was just a poor kid who wanted to make money off an entertainer. Jaeho also has no right to interfere with his relationship with Rona. In the following days, Inseok continued to show up at the set as usual. He brought lunch to the makeup crew again, bought ice cream for his colleagues on the set, and even bought Rona her favorite jelly. Jaeho saw all of this. He knew he couldn't wait any longer. So one day, while Rona was filming, he took the opportunity to go home, take a shower. Then he sent a message to Rona asking her to meet him at the hotel. Jaeho was going to confess everything to her that day. He put on a handsome suit and combed his hair in a grown-up style. Then he drove an expensive sports car to the hotel where he had arranged to meet Rona. When Rona arrived, she was shocked to see Jaeho's appearance. She praised Jaeho for looking very handsome and asked if he was dressed up because he had something to say. Who knew that Jaeho stood up with a serious face and knelt down next to Rona? He asked Rona to beat him up because he had lied to her some time ago. Rona was very surprised and couldn't understand why Jaeho would do that. Did he have an ulterior motive? Although Jaeho's attitude in admitting his fault was very sincere, Rona was still a little angry. Jaeho then started from the first time he met Rona. At that time, the two were at the noodle restaurant at the same table. Jaeho looked up and saw Rona for the first time and fell in love with her at first sight. When Rona sat down, the first thing she said was actually a swear word. He was shocked and thought she was cursing at him. But Jaeho was also completely conquered by Rona's character. Rona couldn't believe it. Jaeho explained that he didn't want you to be too on your guard, so he lied and said he had a boyfriend. He originally wanted to wait until the end of the TV series before confessing, but because of Inseok's situation, it seemed that he could no longer delay. Jaeho tells Rona that he has actually been treating her like his girlfriend in his heart. He also hopes that Rona will not change her trust in him. Rona finds this a little hard to accept. She does not know whether Jaeho's lie is well-intentioned or not. She herself had once been moved, but now she is a little at a loss. She feels that it will be difficult for the two of them to return to the way they were. When they finish eating and come out, Rona is also shocked to see Jaeho's sports car. On the way home, Jaeho wanted to visit Rona's mother, but Rona refused. Her mother was still very worried about Inseok's situation. Jaeho thought for a moment and said proudly that he had done a good job as an agent. He had won the previous advertisement entirely on his own without using his family's connections. Rona thanked him for putting in so much effort for her. Jaeho then asked Rona if she had forgiven him. Rona smiled and didn't say anything. Jaeho happily said that he could sleep well that night. The next day, Jaeho drove up in a luxury van. Rona was very surprised. She knew that the company definitely didn't buy it for her. Ji-young watched in shock as Rona got out of the luxury car. Inseok was also doing his best to convince his sisters to get back together with Rona. He told them that he really couldn't live without Rona. If they agreed to this time, he would listen to them no matter what in the future. Rona's relationship with Jaeho also improved after she forgave him for his lies. That day, Rona came to film a coffee commercial. However, the boss was not satisfied with the performance of the male lead. Just then, the boss noticed Jaeho, who was dressed smartly, standing nearby. The staff next to him explained that he was only the agent and not a professional actor. However, the boss insisted again and again. He believed that Jaeho's appearance was very good and that he would definitely look better with Rona. So Jaeho embarrassedly changed his clothes. When filming began, Jaeho hugged Rona from behind as written in the script. He had been waiting for this moment for a long time. He was completely genuine. Rona also fell a little in love. The director and the boss were very satisfied with their performance. After the cut was called, Jaeho, who had already gotten into the role, quickly let Rona go. The two were very embarrassed at this moment. It was already the early hours of the morning when the commercial shoot was over. Jaeho took Rona home, but as soon as Rona got out of the car, she was so tired that she almost fell over. Jaeho held Rona up and put her in his arms. Rona was very moved. If Jaeho hadn't appeared, she might not have been able to hold on until now. She hoped Jaeho would give her some time to think about it. Her mind was in a complete mess. The next day, Jaeho took Rona to the horse farm to see his horse. Coincidentally, the horse's name was the same as Rona's dog's name. Rona couldn't take her eyes off the way Jaeho rode his horse. Jaeho radiated with light at that moment. Jaeho then thoughtfully helped Rona onto the horse. He stood in front of her, gallantly holding the reins. He said that every spring he went to Switzerland to ride horses. Running by the lakes and fields helped him release all his stress. How about we go there together next spring? Rona shyly lowered her head. She understood what Jaeho meant. In order to get his sisters to agree to his marriage to Rona, he even agreed to go and meet the blind date arranged by his sisters. Yoonji went even further and asked Inseok if he could dominate Rona after marriage. After returning to the room, Inseok was still gloating over the fact that he was about to succeed. Inseok's sisters were also scheming their own plans. It would be best if Inseok could like that girl. If not, even if he married Rona, he would definitely have to be well trained after marriage. The next day, the director took some time off due to personal matters, and Inseok was on set directing. However, Rona paid no attention to him. Rona chatted and laughed with the assistant as she walked out. Inseok felt very uncomfortable. Halfway through, while Jaeho was out answering the phone, Inseok found Rona and made an appointment to meet at the park where they used to meet at 1 o'clock. Rona was very cold and did not respond. On the way home, Rona told Jaeho about Inseok's appointment to meet her. She hoped that Jaeho could go and meet Inseok in place of herself, and that she would not have to interact with Inseok again. So after dropping Rona off at home, Jaeho went to the park alone. Inseok was very surprised to see it was Jaeho. Inseok asked if Jaeho had a crush on Rona. Jaeho didn't answer, just told Inseok to leave. If there was something important, he could just tell him. Inseok ignored him and went straight to Rona's house. Jaeho followed and stopped Inseok. The two argued, and Inseok punched him in anger, but Jaeho dodged it. Inseok wanted to go upstairs, but Jaeho once again stood in his way. Jaeho said that there was no way he would let him go up. There was no other way. So the two of them had to go back to the park to talk. Inseok told Jaeho to quit his job quickly and not to approach Rona again. Jaeho firmly said that he would not quit his job. Inseok swung his fist again, but both punches missed. He seemed no match for Jaeho, and to avoid losing too badly, Inseok had to leave, but he didn't give up. The next day he waited outside Rona's house all day, and when he saw Rona's mother come home in the evening, he immediately went up to say hello. Rona's mother could only take Inseok back inside. Inseok began to complain to Rona's mother. Because of what happened last time, Rona doesn't want to see oneself at all. Rona's mother is also very helpless. After things turned out like that, it's strange that she would want to see you. Inseok told Rona's mother that he had already convinced his sisters, and that if he waited a few more days, everything would be resolved smoothly. Then he told Rona's mother about Jaeho. He told her everything that had happened last night. Jaeho is not only a liar, but he also has evil intentions towards Rona. If Rona keeps having an agent like this around, it's just too dangerous. The more Rona's mother listened, the more worried she became. She completely believed Inseok's words. Inseok took the opportunity to ask Rona's mother to persuade Rona to change her agent. I have to say that Inseok is really despicable. He can't beat someone in the open, so he plays dirty in the background. Rona was even bullied again by Ji-young while filming. Ji-young slapped Rona directly, knocking her to the ground and cutting her face. Jaeho sensed something was wrong and immediately went over to check on her. He helped Rona up and scolded Ji-young for doing it on purpose. The director was also very surprised to hear that Rona had been injured. Jaeho tenderly protected Rona as they left. Ji-young, who had been scolded, was so angry that she went to the bathroom to sulk. When the agent walked in, she gave her a slap. The two of them immediately got into a fight. This scene happened to be seen by Rona's assistant. Ji-young scolded the other person for not being worthy of being an agent. The agent was not willing to be outdone and taunted Ji-young for not being as good an actress as Rona. You just deliberately cut Rona's face. If I were Rona's agent, I would have already crippled you. Looking at the agents departing back, Ji-young angrily said, I will definitely fire you. Rona's assistant stood by and witnessed the whole thing. She immediately ran back to the car and shared the fight between Ji-young and the manager with Rona and Jaeho. After hearing it, the two of them laughed directly. You deserve it. As soon as Rona returned home, her mother questioned her if she liked Jaeho. Her mother told Rona about Inseok coming home today. Rona said that Jaeho was the best manager in the world. Jaeho had also told her everything. Rona reassured her mother, saying that she would tell her everything in due course. The next day, Jaeho arrived at Rona's house in his sports car. It turned out that Rona wanted to invite Jaeho's parents to lunch to thank them for always cooking for her. When Jaeho's parents arrived shortly afterwards, Rona stood up and greeted them politely. She quickly recognized Jaeho's mother as the lady she had met at the hairdresser's. Everyone marveled at the fate that had brought them together. Jaeho's parents also liked the girl in front of them more and more. As they chatted, Jaeho's father also mentioned without any hesitation his hope that the two of them could get married as soon as possible. After finishing work that evening, the two of them went for a walk in the park. Jaeho also took this opportunity to ask Rona about her thoughts on marriage. Before they met, he had never thought about getting married at all, but after meeting Rona, the whole world was different. He just wanted to spend the rest of his life with Rona. However, Rona said that oneself's feelings were still at the stage of being just good friends. The next day, Inseok went to the cafe to meet the girl his sister had arranged for him to meet, but instead of keeping the appointment, he sent a message asking Rona out. This time, Rona didn't run away. After the two met, Inseok told Rona that he had convinced his sisters. They had agreed to apologize to you and your mother. Inseok hoped that Rona could forget the unpleasantness that had happened before. Rona still refused Inseok with words that contradicted her actions. After killing someone, can you just say you're sorry and it's okay? The hurt your sisters caused me before cannot be made go away with just an apology. Inseok hoped that Rona could stand in his sister's shoes for a moment. To her, they really were like a mother. Looking at the persistent Inseok, Rona told him with tears in her eyes that she had already fallen in love with Jaeho. Inseok couldn't believe it. He felt that Jaeho was a cheater when it came to relationships. But then Rona quickly revealed Jaeho's true identity. Jaeho is not only able to take care of me better, but his parents are also very good to me. But if I stay with you, I will definitely be treated as an enemy by your sisters. Inseok did not try to persuade her, but sincerely apologized to Rona. In a short while, Rona was sitting in the same place, crying her eyes out. Soon, the sisters also learned about Inseok's failed blind date. They had been anxious for Inseok to get married. This plan had failed. They also deeply regretted it. If they had not opposed Inseok and Rona being together, it would have been better. When Inseok returned home, his sisters questioned him non-stop, urging him to marry Rona if he wanted to. But Inseok told his sisters that he was not going to get married, and they were all very surprised. They thought that Rona was up to her old tricks again. Inseok didn't say anything, so his sisters didn't pursue the matter. In the following days, Inseok acted as if nothing had happened. Not only did he buy his sisters food, he even went to the movies with them. Inseok's sisters marveled at how happiness had come so suddenly. The once cute and sensible younger brother had finally returned. Inseok also suggested that he wanted to eat the crab soup his sisters made. That was his favorite flavor. The few of them were also immersed in laughter and joy. It seemed that the good times would just continue like this. But when Yoonmi woke up the next morning and tried to wake Inseok up, she didn't see Inseok's figure. She hurried downstairs and told her sisters about it. Yoonji said that maybe Inseok was just too embarrassed to knock on the door after going out for a drink in the middle of the night, so he didn't go home. But Yoonmi felt that her younger brother's behavior was very strange. She returned to Inseok's room and found that not only was the desk cleaned up, but even the clothes in the closet were gone. Then she hurried back to the study and finally found a letter in the drawer. Yoonmi completely collapsed after reading the contents of the letter. Yoonhye and Yoonji heard their sister's screams and hurried upstairs. Yoonji fainted when she saw the letter's contents. Yoonhye quickly called an ambulance and sent her sister and younger sister to the hospital. After Yoonmi came to, she took out the letter her brother had left again. Inseok no longer had any desire for love. He had his own thoughts. Yoonmi never imagined that her younger brother would come to this. The next day, after being discharged from the hospital, Yoonmi and Yoonji returned home and began to shift the blame onto each other. Yoonji thought it was all Yoonmi's fault. If she hadn't gone directly to Rona's house, it would never have turned out like this. Yoonmi was also very angry. Did she go there alone? Only Yoonhye was sober enough to mediate in the middle. Rona was not immersed in the shadow of a broken heart, and was accompanied by Jaeho. Her life was getting better and better. With the success of the TV series, Rona not only paid off her debts, but also bought a car. That day, Jaeho waited downstairs at Rona's house as usual. At that time, a woman rushed over and handed over her business card, saying that her husband wanted to meet Rona. Jaeho blocked the way in front of Rona and let her get into the car first. Later, he learned from the conversation with the woman that she had actually come to propose. Jaeho immediately refused the other party on the grounds that Rona was busy at work. Rona is mine, and no one can take her away. He then reminded Rona not to open the door for anyone, no matter who rang the doorbell. Rona, who had grown attached to Jaeho over time, also became increasingly interested in him. It was Jaeho's birthday. Rona used the excuse of the finale of a TV series to invite Jaeho to dinner at her house. While she and her mother were preparing the food, Her mother asked if Rona had any thoughts about marrying Jaeho. Rona did not deny it, but she wanted to wait until she could not stop loving Jaeho before getting married. Her mother immediately understood what Rona was thinking. When Jaeho arrived at Rona's house that evening and saw the birthday feast on the table, he was also very moved. As they ate the cake and blew out the candles, Jaeho made a wish in his heart that he would marry Rona within the year. The group ate the birthday feast in laughter and joy. When they left, Rona also gave Jaeho a carefully prepared gift. Jaeho was pleasantly surprised. He really liked it. When he got home, Jaeho took out the gift and showed it off to his parents. His parents praised Rona for being considerate. Jaeho couldn't hide his joy either. At this time, Yoonji was worried sick about Inseok. The director told Yoonmi that someone had seen Inseok near a temple. Yoonmi had already asked a friend to find out if it was really Inseok. The sisters were overjoyed and planned to set off immediately to bring Inseok home. But Yoonji even suggested taking Rona with them. She felt that if we went alone, her brother definitely would not come back. The girls even had the nerve to go to Rona's house again. This time, it was a different story from the last time they caused a scene. They were respectful and had lost none of their arrogance. Learning that they had come to apologize, Rona did not want to see them, but the sisters still begged for the door to be opened. There was no way Rona, who had no soft heart, would let them in. As soon as the three entered the door, they politely greeted Rona's mother. Yoonmi also said with a heavy heart about Inseok running away from home. She shamelessly said that she promised to marry you, and tearfully asked Rona to go find Inseok. Rona's mother was a little speechless. Her daughter has finally pulled through. And what are you going to do? She told the few that Rona already has someone she is seeing, but this was not important to Yoonmi. She kept apologizing to Rona and said that they were all so sad that they were living on nutrition supplements every day. But Rona was furious when she remembered the vicious things they had said to her mother the last time they were here. She said that she was tired of Inseok and that they should just leave. Yoonmi even started to morally kidnap, thinking that Inseok had become like this because he had met Rona. Rona looked at the crying faces of the few people and finally softened her heart. She asked what was written in Inseok's letter. Yoonji immediately took out the letter and read it to Rona. In the end, Rona agreed to go with her to bring Inseok back. They hurried all night long, worried that Inseok would hide if he learned the news. Yoonmi suggested that it would be better for Rona to go in alone. Rona did not refuse her. First, she found the abbot of the temple. After she made clear her purpose, the abbot seemed reluctant. He felt that Inseok had great potential as a monk. If you really care about Inseok's well-being, it would be better if you went back alone. Rona told the abbot that Inseok's sisters were waiting outside. They had lived their whole lives for Inseok. If I went back like this, Inseok's sisters would not be able to bear it. I just need to confirm Inseok's thoughts. No matter what the result, I will not come back again. There was no way the abbot could refuse Rona's request. When Rona arrived at the meditation room, she happened to see Inseok leaving the house. Jaeho learned that Rona and Inseok had made up and chose to leave this sad place. On the other hand, the wedding date for Rona and Inseok was also on the agenda. The three sisters also changed their usual trickery and became better and better to Rona. Yoonmi not only took Rona to meet her friends, but also helped her choose the best fabric for her wedding dress. Yoonhye found a top domestic wedding dress designer to make a beautiful wedding dress for Rona. Yoonji contacted a band to prepare to sing at their wedding personally. Inseok also found a new house for Rona's mother and specially bought furniture. That day, Inseok asked Rona to the bar where the two first proposed marriage. He also specially ordered the wine that the two drank together when they met. He told Rona that since that time, he had never been here again, because it was full of memories of the two of them. Immediately after, Inseok took out a diamond ring and proposed to Rona. Rona happily agreed. Inseok also personally put on the diamond ring for Rona, representing the love of the two of them. And this scene was just captured by a customer eating nearby. After the two finished eating, Yoonmi came to pick them up, but on the way, Inseok received a call from his sister. It turned out that the person who took the photo had already posted it on Twitter, and it was making a lot of noise online, and their relationship became a hot topic. Yoonji reminded them to watch out for reporters' calls. The couple were very helpless. It seems that they can only announce the news in advance. Rona had just arrived home when her manager's phone rang. The other party told Rona that everyone was asking about you. Rona briefly explained the situation to her manager and asked him to turn off his work phone. When she got home, she was super happy and showed off the diamond ring to her mother. Her mother was very surprised and told Rona to cherish it from now on, and sincerely hoped that her daughter could live a happy life. The next day, there was a report on Rona's wedding. Jaeho's parents also saw the news. They were very sad inside. Their once most treasured daughter-in-law was getting married. But what they didn't expect was that Rona came to their home to apologize. Rona felt very sorry for Jaeho's parents. "You have been so good to me, but I still let you down." But Jaeho's parents did not blame Rona. Instead, they acted very generously, because from beginning to end, it was Jaeho who was pursuing Rona. Rona took out a sum of money and told them that it was the money Jaeho had earned from the commercial. Jaeho's mother waved her hand to refuse, but Jaeho's father said that the money was their wedding gift. Jaeho returned home from his trip abroad and acted as if nothing had happened. He chatted and laughed with his parents, who he had not seen for a long time. His parents suggested that they find a match for Jaeho, and Jaeho readily accepted. Meanwhile, Rona and Inseok's wedding preparations were in the final stages. The two took beautiful wedding photos. Amid the blessings of their family and friends, the two entered the hall of marriage. At the wedding, Inseok's three sisters were moved to tears. They had spent their entire lives raising their younger brother, and now he had finally formed his own happy and contented family. After the ceremony, the two left for their honeymoon abroad. After Rona finished washing her face, she imagined that Inseok had lit romantic candles in the room waiting for her. But when she walked out of the bathroom full of expectations, she saw Inseok sitting on the sofa. Rona went over to the sofa, picked up her phone and tried to take a photo, but Inseok stopped her. Inseok also started playing disco music on his phone and danced to the music. Rona was amused and couldn't help but stand up and dance with Inseok. The music also changed to a romantic style at this time. Inseok took off his headscarf and hugged the woman he loved in front of him. From now on, the two of them are no longer boy and girlfriend, but husband and wife. At this time, Jaeho was drinking in his room to relieve his sorrows. Rona's marriage weighed on him so heavily that he could hardly breathe. Recalling the bits and pieces of being with Rona, he finally fell asleep in a daze. The next day, his mother came to his room to call Jaeho to dinner and found the bottle of wine under the table, which immediately made her heart ache. When Dad saw Jaeho, he asked why he hadn't come down to eat. Mom, however, couldn't hold back her tears and burst into tears. Soon, Rona and Inseok returned home from their honeymoon. The next day, Rona got up early and wanted to help her sister make breakfast. Yoonmi sent Rona back to her room to get some sleep. From now on, you don't have to worry about housework. All you have to do is wait for dinner. Inseok couldn't help but sigh after hearing this. Now Rona is the apple of the family's eye. In the afternoon, Rona wanted to cook dinner and wait for her sisters to come home, but she was only halfway through the preparations when Yoonmi returned with her favorite cake. Yoonmi had deliberately returned to help the two of them cook. She also told Rona to go back to her room to eat the cake and rest without worrying. Watching the busy Yoonmi, Rona was moved. Mom and Dad were also very worried about Jaeho's gradual weight loss. They proposed on this day that they had already found a matchmaker for Jaeho and hoped that he could meet the woman today. Jaeho agreed without even asking the girl's name. His father also proposed that if they felt suitable after meeting, they should hurry up and get married this winter. Jaeho arrived at the agreed location, but what he didn't expect was that the girl he was dating was Ji-young. It turned out that Jaeho's mother had previously met Ji-young's mother. After a chance encounter, the two exchanged pleasantries and learned about each other's family situations. They immediately proposed that the two children try going on a date. Ji-young was also very surprised when she heard about this from her mother. Rona's former manager turned out to be the heir to a wealthy family. She happily agreed. Jaeho was at a loss for words when he saw his matchmaking partner was Ji-young. Ji-young also looked incredulous, exclaiming that the two were really meant to be. Jaeho was worried that they would be photographed if they met in the lobby, so he took Ji-young to a hotel room. He asked Ji-young if she could accept a marriage without love, since the two of them had no emotional foundation, but his parents' age made him feel the need to get married as soon as possible. Ji-young was very surprised. She obviously didn't think Jaeho would be in such a hurry. She said she wanted to get engaged first. After all, it was only going to happen once in a lifetime. Jaeho then proposed to get engaged at the end of the month and get married next year. Jaeho remained expressionless throughout the entire process of the blind date. After returning home, he told his parents about the marriage he had agreed with Ji-young. Jaeho's parents were very happy to learn about the wedding date, but how could they know the pain of their son's heart? After confirming the wedding date with Jaeho, Ji-young immediately asked Rona out. Ji-young deliberately told Rona that she was going to marry Jaeho. Seeing Rona's surprised expression, Ji-young's plan worked. She thought Rona didn't know Jaeho's background, but Rona calmly told her that she knew everything. Ji-young then proudly said that she was going to get engaged to Jaeho next month. Hearing this, Rona still felt very uncomfortable inside. She asked Ji-young to ask Jaeho if he wanted any gifts for the wedding. After all, He had been her manager, and they had promised that when he got married, she would give him a suit. Just then, Jaeho's phone rang and he said he wanted to get engaged together. After hanging up, Ji-young suggested that Rona come to her engagement ceremony with her. Rona had mixed feelings. She didn't know if she would go or not. After returning home, Rona kept thinking about Jaeho. Then she asked Yoonmi to teach her how to cook. Her mother said that she was already married but still had to eat the food her sister cooked. Yoonmi comforted Rona, saying that she didn't have to care about it. You and Inseok are both very important to me, and Inseok has been eating meals prepared by himself since he was a child, so he is already used to it. Upon hearing this, Rona shut up. However, when it came to breakfast the next day, Rona and Inseok said, "From today onwards, we will not drink soup." When Yoonmi asked why, the two of them said that their headaches were caused by drinking soup. My sister thinks that Inseok's headaches are caused by the pressure of writing. Yoonmi was speechless and glared at Rona angrily. After dinner, Rona sent Inseok out the door and then Yoonmi called her into the living room for questioning. Rona said that soup is not healthy for the body. She has never drunk soup. Yoonmi finally understood. So you were just using the excuse of helping me cook before. You just wanted me to cook according to your taste, didn't you? Rona didn't explain her ulterior motives. She had been completely guessed right. She didn't feel that she had done anything wrong. Instead, she relentlessly told Yoonmi to control the calories when cooking. Yoonmi was completely furious after hearing this. I've been so good to you, and you still end up breaking my heart. She said that her sisters had been eating like this for so many years, but their figures were still fine. Rona calmly retorted, "You get edema when you wake up in the morning because you eat too much meat. We're past the stage of growing. If you eat too much meat, your heart will have problems." Yoonmi and Rona had a big fight and returned to the dining room. She and her younger sister vented about Rona, who had finally revealed her true disrespectful nature towards her elders. Yoonji was also very angry after hearing this and scolded Rona for being so self-righteous. So the two sisters discussed starting today to teach Rona a good lesson. Someone like her doesn't deserve to eat the food they cook themselves. Yoonmi also told her younger sister to be careful not to let Inseok see. When it came time to eat dinner that night, Yoonmi deliberately didn't prepare any soup for Rona. Rona didn't say anything and turned her head to pick up a piece of the heavy-flavored fish. But looking at Yoonmi's sharp gaze, she put the fish back. Then Yoonmi put pickled vegetables and wild vegetables in front of Rona and said that she had deliberately not added salt. Rona understood her sister's intentions. She could only go and get soy sauce to prepare for bibimbap. Inseok looked at Rona eating only pickled vegetables and wild vegetables and said with concern, "How can you eat like this?" Rona timidly said that she liked to eat like this. Yoonmi gave her another wink and told her to get the chili peppers. She could only do as she was told. The next morning, Rona and Inseok were flirting in their room, but Rona accidentally bit Inseok's chin, leaving a tooth mark. If her sisters found out, she would definitely get scolded again. So when they went out, Inseok deliberately put on a band-aid and lied that he had accidentally cut himself shaving. But Yoonmi said she wanted to see his wound. Seeing Inseok's refusal, Yoonji suspected that the two of them had a quarrel. Soon the two sisters scolded Rona. How could a woman treat her husband like that? Inseok told his sisters not to worry and left the house directly. But what awaited Rona was a storm of attacks. Yoonmi scolded Rona for being ill-mannered. Yoonji even scolded Rona for not knowing how to love. Rona, who had made a mistake, could only go to the kitchen to work silently. Seeing the mountain of dishes in the sink, Rona planned to put them in the dishwasher. However, Yoonmi walked in and said that the dishwasher couldn't clean the dishes properly and they had to be washed by hand. She also told Rona to cook for herself in the future. You can eat all the kimchi your mother brought by yourself. At dinner that night, Inseok also fed Rona without any hesitation in front of his sisters. Yoonmi held back her anger. However, Inseok brought the best dishes to Rona's table. Yoonmi said that her restaurant could be sold very soon. Inseok was very happy to hear this. Yoonmi could finally take a break. But Rona said that Yoonmi would only be truly liberated if the two of them moved out. On hearing this, Yoonmi's hands stopped moving. At that moment, the two sisters received a phone call and left directly. After dinner, Rona once again spoke to Inseok about moving out. She felt that living at home was too much of a burden for her sisters. Only if we left them could they start their own lives and find their own love. Inseok felt that Rona had a good point and promised to mention it to his sisters later. But when Inseok brought up the idea, Yoonmi also naturally thought that Rona was behind it. Inseok told his sisters that a colleague of his got married at the age of 56 and was very happy. You can't take care of me forever. Yoonmi was very angry and took her sister back to their room. The two of them discussed how they had to make Inseok completely give up the idea of independence. In the following days, The sisters still acted like good sisters in front of Inseok. Yunmi bought a silk scarf and gave it to Rona. Inseok kept praising it after seeing it. Yunmi also thoughtfully told Rona that if she felt bored at home, she could go out and see more friends. Rona knew what Yunmi meant and said that she wasn't bored at all. However, when Inseok went out to write during the day, the sisters began to make things difficult for Rona in various ways. They either asked Rona to clean the house alone or to prepare the meals alone. That day, Rona was washing a mountain of dishes all by herself, while Inseok was away. The sisters called Rona into the living room. Yunmi questioned Rona if it was because she didn't like living with them that she encouraged Inseok to move out. Rona also bluntly stated that living with 4 people was very inconvenient for herself. Yoonji retorted, "Are the things we eat now not healthy enough?" Yunmi told Rona to go and talk to Inseok herself about not moving out. She also ordered Rona not to talk back to her in the future. She even warned her that if she ever heard the words moving out again, she should just leave the house on her own. Rona reluctantly agreed, holding back her tears as she apologized to her sisters. Yunmi then sent Rona back to her room. As soon as Rona returned to her room, she burst into tears. This spoiled young lady had never suffered such humiliation before. She had thought that if she agreed with her sisters not to move out, they would not torment her anymore. But Yunmi had arranged for Rona to prepare her father's memorial service alone, so Rona went to the supermarket alone to buy things. Just as she was leaving the supermarket, she met Jaeho, who was driving by. Jaeho thoughtfully helped her carry everything that was available into the car. He opened the back door of the car, but Rona closed it and got in the passenger seat. Jaeho asked Rona why she was buying so much food alone. He was surprised to learn that she was preparing for a memorial service. "Why didn't Inseok come with you to do something so difficult?" Jaeho couldn't help but say, "I thought you were very happy." Rona changed the subject and mentioned his marriage to Ji-young. He also said that the two were a perfect match as he was a talented man and she was a beautiful woman. This time, Jaeho was silent. Rona looked at the familiar profile and was also caught up in his memories. Jaeho always considered himself first in every situation, even when eating noodles. He would ask the waiter to help him handle the noodles according to his preferences. But Inseok always put himself first. Rona suddenly didn't know if his choice was right or wrong. Soon Jaeho had Rona at her doorstep. He was as attentive as ever, helping Rona carry her things into the yard. Before leaving, Jaeho told Rona to call him if she ever needed to do any shopping alone again. Rona pretended to be calm and said she would take care of herself and hoped Jaeho would have a bright future as well. Jaeho knew that his future with Rona would never intersect again. What he had to do now was prepare for his wedding to Ji-young. Jaeho then accompanied his mother as she helped Ji-young choose a diamond ring. His mother generously let Ji-young try on all the rings in the shop. Ji-young couldn't hide her smile, but Jaeho, as the groom-to-be, stood behind them with a stony face. After looking at the diamond rings, Jaeho took Ji-young to the riverside, in order to completely forget about Rona. Jaeho hoped that Ji-young could get married on the day of the engagement. Ji-young happily agreed, but at the same time, she also complained that she felt Jaeho didn't care about her as much as he did Rona. Jaeho said that he would treat you well in the future, and asked Ji-young if there was anything she wanted to do. Ji-young excitedly said a lot of things, and Jaeho also said that he would try his best to fulfill all of her wishes. At this time, Rona had already begun preparing the food for the sacrifice. Her best friend called to complain about her in-laws. Rona, who was not happy with her own situation, was still able to give advice to her best friend. Rona saw Yunmi come back and quickly hung up the phone. Yunmi looked at the table of food that had been prepared and didn't say anything. When the sacrifice was over, it was already midnight. Rona was still hard at work preparing desserts for everyone. Yunmi thanked Rona insincerely for her hard work today. Everyone praised Rona for being so capable and doing so much on her own. Rona smiled awkwardly and didn't say anything. The next day, while tidying up her room, Rona suddenly received a call from her mother. Her mother told her that she had had a dream about being pregnant and asked Rona if she was pregnant. Rona did some rough calculations and became excited. She had been so busy that she hadn't even noticed. Rona picked up the calendar and double-checked. It seemed that she was really pregnant. Her mother happily shared the joy with her dog. Rona finally couldn't hold back after hearing her sisters scold her. On this day, she told her sisters that she still wanted to split the family property. The two sisters' faces immediately fell. "Didn't we already agree on this issue? How dare you bring it up again?" Yoonji scolded Rona for being ungrateful. "How can we possibly do enough for you?" Rona said, "I heard everything you said to me yesterday." She couldn't understand why her sisters were saying one thing to her face and doing another behind her back. If you're disgusted even by eating with each other, why force yourselves to live together? Although Yunmi was a little embarrassed, she still couldn't help but scold Rona. Rona said, "In order to not make you angry, let's move out, Yunmi said at this time. I don't dislike you, it's just that you haven't done well enough. In the future, I will teach you well and make you our family, Rona cried out in distress. For the first time, she felt that Yunmi was such a terrible person, but the two sisters still wouldn't relent and vented their anger at Rona. Rona went back to her room alone, distressed and in tears. During their date that day, she begged Insiak to move out for 2 or 3 years for her sake. Rona did not tell him what had happened at home, but instead said it was her problem. She hoped that Insiak would agree to this request for her sake. But Insiak said, if we move out, our sisters will definitely be very sad. Rona also looked very lost at this moment. She didn't realize that moving out was such a difficult thing. Even her husband was not on her side. When they returned home after dinner, their two sisters were already waiting for them in the living room. Seeing Rona's pale face, the sisters pretended to be concerned about whether she was feeling unwell. Rona, who felt like a wounded kitten, hid behind Insiak and didn't dare say a word. Insiak explained that Rona was just a little tired. The two sisters immediately lectured Rona. Yunmi even pretended to be very open-minded, telling Rona to speak up if she had any complaints. How dare Rona speak up now? She could only nod and say that she had no complaints, and Yunmi let her go. They went upstairs to rest. Back in her room, Rona could no longer hold back her anger. She snuck off to the bathroom alone and cried bitterly once again. Insiak's two sisters, however, were laughing so hard they could hardly breathe. The next day, Rona borrowed a car from her best friend and went to the park alone to relax. When she returned home, she waited obediently at the door to greet her sisters. But the two sisters didn't even look at her. Rona didn't give up. She went to the kitchen and tried to make peace with Yunmi again. But Yunmi asked, didn't you hear what I said yesterday? If you want to eat something, go buy it yourself and cook it. Then Yunmi went on to pick on Rona's short skirt, saying, a newlywed's wife should not show her thighs. Is this what your mother taught you? Rona didn't dare say a word and obediently changed her clothes and went downstairs. She even shamelessly asked Yunmi to help her cook. Yunmi immediately put the dishes away when she heard that her brother was not coming home to eat. Rona could only stand there awkwardly. Jaeho suddenly felt unwell while at work and went to the hospital for a checkup. After the doctor's diagnosis, he even asked Jaeho to go to a major hospital for a systematic checkup. In order not to worry his parents, Jaeho made up an excuse that he needed to go on a business trip to meet with the actors for a new script. His father even jokingly asked if there was a role suitable for his mother to perform. His mother was very happy and asked Jaeho to grant her wish. Jaeho then went to the hospital alone. After undergoing various tests, he accompanied Ji-young in choosing her wedding ring. When Jaeho returned to the hospital, the doctor's expression was extremely serious. He asked the doctor if there was any treatment. The doctor, however, told him that he must cooperate with chemotherapy in order to have a chance of recovery. Moreover, the success rate of treatment was only 50%. Jaeho was worried that the side effects of chemotherapy would be too great for his parents to notice anything unusual. He gathered his courage and asked how long he could live if he did not receive treatment. The doctor regretted to say that without treatment, he could only live for up to 6 months. This news was like a bolt from the blue for Jaeho. He didn't know what to do for a long time. Jaeho stood sleepwalking at the entrance of the hospital and stared for a long time. He just couldn't accept this fact. In the evening, Jaeho took Ji-young and his parents to dinner. The few of them chatted about getting married, but Jaeho was distracted the whole time. Looking at his exhausted father, Jaeho asked if he was feeling unwell, but Jaeho did not tell him about his illness. Instead, he said that he was tired from work. After Jaeho dropped Ji-young off at home, he went to the office alone. He thought about what the doctor had told him and was very desperate. In his days, he even went to Rona's house. He wished that Rona could appear before him at this moment. Then he could pour out all his pain to Rona. At that moment, Rona happened to be alone in the courtyard, taking a breath. It turned out that Rona had been craving something at night and asked Insiak to bring back some snacks. Yunmi said that it was not good for digestion to snack so late at night, but Insiak had already bought them, so you just finish all of them. As a result, when it was time to go to bed, Rona vomited everything because she had eaten too much. Then she came alone to the courtyard, looked at the stars in the sky, and once again thought of Jaeho. But in the beginning, she chose Insiak herself. At this moment, Jaeho was sitting outside the door in tears. He thought that if Rona came out, he would definitely take her away with him. The two of them could go somewhere where no one knew them, and live together for even just a few months. After his sadness had passed, Jaeho drove away from the place, and at that moment, Rona walked out the door. Perhaps it was not their destiny to be together, and so the two of them just missed each other. The next day, Jae-ho called Ji-young out. He told her that he wanted to call off the wedding. Ji-young was also very surprised. "Do you hate me that much? Do you still like Rona?" After much hesitation, Jae-ho told her that he had cancer. "I even thought about getting married tomorrow and having a child as soon as possible so that my parents would have something to think about." Seeing Ji-young's surprised expression, Jae-ho reassured her that he had completely accepted the fact. He also told Ji-young that even if she underwent treatment, there was only a 50% chance that she would survive. Jae-ho asked Ji-young in return, "If it were you, would you just get married without saying anything?" He prayed that Ji-young could help him keep the secret from his parents. Ji-young agreed, and also agreed to Jae-ho's request to call off the wedding. She also became very helpless for a moment, since her two sisters were not at home. Rona and In-seok enjoyed their rare time together. Rona then proposed that she wanted to learn to ride a horse. In-seok then simply lay on the ground and let Rona ride on his back. Seeing her husband dote on herself like this, Rona respectfully obliged and sat directly on In-seok's back. She even specifically turned on the stereo and followed the music for an immersive experience. But just then, their sisters suddenly returned, and Rona hurriedly got off In-seok, who explained that the two of them were just playing around. Yoonmi questioned Rona as to what kind of woman would ride on top of her husband like that. Seeing that the atmosphere was not right, In-seok told his sisters that he had let Rona ride on top of him, since In-seok was there. Yoonmi did not want to lose her temper. Rona also quietly went back to her room like a child who had made a mistake. The next morning, when it was time to eat, the sisters deliberately communicated in English in order to isolate Rona. Yoonji even invited her sisters to go to the theater with her. They thought Rona wouldn't understand, but as soon as they finished speaking, Rona asked them to take her with them. The sisters were instantly extremely embarrassed. For a moment, they didn't know what to say, but in the afternoon, the sisters came up with a new trick. They switched to speaking in Russian. Rona couldn't understand a word and could only stand there dumbfounded, not saying a word. The sisters could see her embarrassment and secretly gloated. After so many days of torture, Rona finally couldn't take it anymore. On this day, she told In-seok all her grievances. "Every day, I am mentally abused by your two sisters. If this continues, I will develop depression." However, In-seok didn't believe a word Rona said. Instead, he felt that Rona wasn't paying enough attention to his sisters, but Rona still proposed splitting the household. She didn't want to put up with it anymore. The more In-seok listened, the more impatient he became. He decisively rejected Rona's request. The next day, the sisters were watching TV in the living room. As soon as Rona sat down in the living room, her sisters turned off the TV and went back to their room. As a result, the two of them watched the same program in the room again. Rona angrily came to the room and questioned them if they were being too much. However, the two sisters turned a deaf ear to her and just treated Rona like a transparent person. Rona could only drink alone in the living room, and waited for the two sisters to come out. When they saw the drunk Rona, they almost shot laser beams out of their eyes. The drunk Rona told the two sisters to sit down for a conversation between women. Yoonmi impatiently told Rona not to act crazy when she was drunk, and Rona, who was drunk, finally stood up and lost her temper. Just as her sisters were about to leave, Rona turned on the stereo and started dancing to vent her emotions. The two sisters couldn't believe it. "Is this woman crazy?" Yoonji excitedly took out her phone and filmed Rona's appearance. After a lot of trouble, Rona, who was tired from dancing, also lay on the sofa and cried loudly. Yoonmi rushed out and asked Rona not to cry in the house. Looking at her sister, who was high above her, Rona completely exploded. She felt that there was nothing wrong with her at all. "Did the deceased mother-in-law teach you how to abuse your sister-in-law two-facedly?" Rona was speechless. "You used English and Russian to communicate in order to isolate me. Is this what elders are supposed to do?" Yoonmi also stopped pretending and said, "I just don't like you." Rona was filled with remorse. She should never have married In-seok in the first place. Yoonmi began to ramble on and on about how much she hated Rona. Rona's worldview was completely shaken. She then went upstairs to pack her bags and prepare to leave this suffocating home. When In-seok returned, he scolded Rona for yelling at his sister. He even threatened to divorce Rona if she left the house. Rona replied without hesitation, "Divorce it is." In-seok tried to stop Rona from leaving, but was slapped. Yoonji saw his beloved younger brother being slapped and went crazy, rushing up to fight with Rona. Yoonmi was so provoked that she fainted directly. However, Rona did not have the slightest sympathy and without hesitation took the dog by the leash and turned around and left. She no longer had any attachment to this family. If she didn't love In-seok deeply, she would not have married into this family in the first place and suffered. Yoonmi, who was always quick-witted, developed aphasia as a result. In-seok wanted to find Rona and confront her, but no one answered the phone. It turned out that Rona didn't want to see Insiak, so she moved in with a good friend. After Rona settled in, she even took the opportunity while Insiak was away to pack all her belongings. At this time, Jaeho's condition began to deteriorate rapidly. He often had uncontrollable nosebleeds. Under the torment of the disease, the once spirited son of a chaebol can now only lie in bed all day and rest. Jaeho goes to church to pray, saying that he only has the last 6 months of his life left. He wants to spend this last time with the people he loves, but the girl he likes is already someone else's wife. Perhaps God heard Jaeho's prayer. Rona and Insiak's marriage is on the verge of ending. Even though Yunmi has aphasia, she does not forget to incite her brother to divorce Rona. She kept cursing Rona. This woman is really horrible. In order to comfort the agitated Yunmi, Insiak could only nod his head and agree. After learning that Yunmi was hospitalized, the kind-hearted Rona still went to the hospital to visit. But how would the always tricky Yunmi give Rona a good face? She sign language signaled to Rona to divorce her brother. Rona had already been abused by these sisters enough and agreed to her request without thinking. Yunmi even deliberately mocked Rona, congratulating her on being able to spend the rest of her life with her dog. Insiak had always obeyed the three sisters' every command. Even though he still had feelings for Rona, he still listened to his sisters and met with Rona. Rona directly proposed a divorce. Insiak, however, accused her of why she couldn't just be patient for a while. Is it so difficult to accommodate the sisters for the sake of oneself? But Insiak had no idea that the sisters were only nice to Rona in her presence. Out of his sight, Rona was bullied by her sisters all day long. Not only did she have to do all the housework for the family, she often didn't even get to eat. Rona now has no more attachment to this marriage. Facing Rona's accusations, Insiak couldn't say a word, because even if he knew his sisters were wrong, he didn't dare to rebel against his own flesh and blood. After much hesitation, Insiak finally chose his relatives over his wife. Yunmi had just heard that her younger brother had agreed to a divorce. Her severe aphasia immediately healed. It was obvious that she had been faking her illness before. Jaeho was very sick, but he insisted on pretending to be fine in front of his parents. But even though he appeared to be in good spirits, his weight, which was decreasing every day, couldn't be hidden. What Jaeho didn't expect was that Rona would call and ask to meet him. Jaeho was only supposed to live for another 6 months, and of course he treasured the opportunity to meet the love of his life. Rona also dressed up especially for this date. The two hadn't seen each other in almost 6 months, and for a moment they didn't know what to say. Jaeho was curious as to why Rona had suddenly sought him out. Rona told Jaeho directly that she was getting a divorce. She also confessed that it was because her in-laws didn't like her and she couldn't stand the abuse that she had decided to divorce. Hearing this, Jaeho appeared to be even more distressed. If Rona was living a happy life, he could also leave this world at ease. But now that his beloved was living like this, he really couldn't hold back his feelings. In order to win back the wife he had finally married, Insiak rebelled against his three sisters for the first time. Not only did he refuse to divorce, he also proposed to move out with Rona. Yunmi didn't believe that her younger brother would rebel against her. She thought that Rona had instigated him. However, Insiak said that everything was his own idea. This time, he was determined to move out, but the unconvinced sisters actually chased after him into his room and chattered on and on. Insiak coldly told his sisters that he had already grown up a long time ago. He wants his own space. He wants to take control of his own life. Insiak firmly states that he will move out in hopes that his sisters will not disturb him, at least until he and Rona have a child. They will not meet again. Yoonji, however, argues that Insiak is not filial and values Rona more than his own sister. Yunmi says with grievance, "I have raised you with great difficulty, but I never imagined that in the end you would be worse than a dog. You're going to break off ties with your own sister just because of a woman? The three of us sisters are still single because of you." After a big fight, Insiak's two sisters cried uncontrollably. Yunmi kept asking their parents in heaven what they should do. She prayed that Insiak would change his mind, but she never expected that this time her younger brother was truly determined. But Rona was determined. No matter how Insiak begged her, she would get a divorce. It was only then that Rona was willing to admit that the first person she thought of when she was at her most helpless and in the most pain was always Jaeho. When Jaeho learned that Rona was getting a divorce, he comforted her, saying that it was all Insiak's sister's fault. But now Rona had completely given up on Insiak, because if Insiak had been responsible enough, she would not have been bullied by his sisters for a whole year. Hearing Jaeho's words, Rona looked a little disappointed. She had thought that Jaeho would be on her side, but she never expected Jaeho to speak up for Insiak. In fact, Jaeho has always loved Rona deeply. If he were healthy, he would not hesitate to woo Rona again. But now the question is whether he will survive the year. How dare he woo the girl he loves? He can only hope that another man will take care of Rona for him. Inseok is so well off. Of course he is the reliable candidate in Jaeho's heart. Jaeho dares not tell the truth and can only watch helplessly as Rona walks away from him. Rona is also suffering immensely at this time. She has been exhausted over the past year. But she doesn't realize that an even greater blow is yet to come. One day, Rona finally receives a call from her mother, who has returned home from abroad. She dares not tell her about her divorce and simply asks how her brother is doing abroad. But she never expects that these few words of greeting will become the last conversation she has with her mother. After arriving home, Rona tried to wake her sleeping mother, but she couldn't wake her no matter how hard she tried. She rushed to take her mother to the hospital. The doctor announced that the patient had no pulse. Rona's last psychological defense completely collapsed. She knelt in front of her mother's bed and burst into tears. The doctor comforted Rona, saying that people cannot be brought back to life. He told her to take care of herself and grieve in a healthy way, then notify the relatives as soon as possible. After all, there is a very cumbersome process to go through. But her brother and sister-in-law are both abroad. Rona was in the middle of getting a divorce. Now she had no one to turn to. In the end, she could only call her former assistant. As soon as the assistant heard the news, she rushed to the hospital. She happened to meet Jaeho in the elevator. Jaeho was also incredulous when he heard the news. With Jaeho's comfort, Rona finally calmed down for the time being. The assistant also told Inseok the news. The three of them looked at each other awkwardly at the hospital. Inseok had not yet divorced Rona after all, so he attended the funeral as Rona's son-in-law. Rona looked very haggard due to her mother's death, and it looked like she might faint at any moment. But Yunmi was only concerned that the chaebol wife had come to the funeral, fearing that Rona would marry into a wealthy family after the divorce. As soon as the funeral was over, Inseok told Rona that he had already spoken to his sisters about dividing up the family assets. Once the new house was renovated, they could live together as a couple. But by this time, Rona had completely given up on Inseok. No matter how sincere the other party's words were to win her back, she was not moved at all. After experiencing so many changes, Rona had long since been exhausted. Inseok saw Rona in this state and realized that the two of them had completely come to the end of their relationship. Since things had come to this, he also decided not to pursue it and instead agreed to the divorce as Rona wished. The next morning, the two went to the court together to get the divorce. This completely ended this torturous marriage. The heartbroken Inseok, who had divorced, could only go to the roadside to get drunk alone. After returning home, he had to listen to his sister's nagging. Yunmi, as usual, picked on Rona and accused her of being unfaithful, saying that a married man never came home. Inseok then said that he had divorced Rona. Not only did Yunmi not feel the least bit guilty, she also accused Rona of being petty. We all agreed to split up, but she still wants a divorce. Inseok didn't want to talk to them, but his sisters were insistent on getting to the bottom of it. They were afraid that the young couple was just putting on a show to get a divorce and move out. When Yunmi found out that her brother had really divorced and that Rona had not asked for alimony, she finally revealed a satisfied expression. She was determined to find her brother a new wife who would be satisfied. Jaeho's condition began to deteriorate rapidly. Even the meals that his mother had carefully prepared for him were no longer edible. That day, he became seriously ill and fainted at the elevator. Fortunately, Rona's assistant found him in time and took him to the hospital. Rona rushed to the emergency room as soon as she heard the news. It was only then that she learned that Jaeho had cancer. She didn't know why Jaeho had been reluctant to receive treatment. Rona was devastated when she learned the truth, but she still forced a smile on her face when she faced Jaeho, in order not to worry Rona. Jaeho also pretended to be fine and said that his body was normal. But when they got in the car, Jaeho noticed that there was an extra suitcase in the back seat. Rona confessed that she had just finished the divorce process and was packing to move out. Jaeho also told her about canceling the engagement. The two, who had been in love, were now both single again. The atmosphere, which should have been amorous, was made particularly awkward by Jaeho's illness. When they arrived at Jaeho's apartment, Rona said that the doctor had told her everything. She begged Jaeho to actively accept treatment, but Jaeho adamantly refused. This was because he knew of no one who had survived chemotherapy. In Jaeho's opinion, it was better to spend the last few months of his life happily than to be tortured by chemotherapy. Rona had lost the people closest to her one after the other. Jaeho was already the last person she could rely on. If Jaeho also left this world, then she would find no meaning in living either. Jaeho cried and begged Rona to spend the rest of her life with him. Rona immediately agreed, saying that as long as Jaeho was willing to receive treatment, she would definitely stay by his side. Hearing Rona's words, Jae-ho finally regained hope for life. He agreed to be hospitalized for examination, but asked Rona not to tell his parents. They were old and would definitely not be able to accept such news. In order to hide it from his parents, Jae-ho rejected all the work he had and lied that he was going abroad for further studies. Although his mother felt surprised, she still supported her son's decision. Since Jae-ho was hospitalized, Rona has been by his bedside. She can see Jae-ho's unease and comforts him, saying, "No matter what happens, I won't leave. Unless Jae-ho falls in love with someone else after he gets better, she will choose to withdraw." In the face of life and death, these poor lovers finally confessed their feelings to each other. At this time, Yoonmi looked exceptionally happy and showy, and even her younger sister couldn't stand it. Yoonhye scolded her sister, In-seok, for being so happy after just getting divorced. Then she said, "Jae-ho's engagement to the actress has been cancelled." Hearing this, Yoonji instantly became nervous, fearing that Rona and Jae-ho would reunite. Yoonmi, however, appeared very calm, thinking that the Chaebol family would never marry a second-time wife as their daughter-in-law. Sure enough, good deeds are rewarded and evil deeds are punished. Within a few days, Yoonmi was diagnosed with a serious kidney disease. Rona had long since warned them not to eat so much meat 3 times a day. When you get older, it's not easy to digest. Overeating puts a strain on the kidneys and can lead to illness. Rona's words were exactly what the doctor had said today, but Yoonmi couldn't hear it at the time. She just felt that Rona was disrespecting her elders. Yoonji couldn't help but sneer at her sister for repaying kindness with evil. Rona clearly meant well when she warned you, but you only gave Rona pickles because you were craving meat. Yoonmi immediately retorted, "Am I the only one picking on her? Every time you scold Rona, you're right there fanning the flames, aren't you?" Yoonji said, "As your younger sister, I'm just trying to help because I'm afraid you'll get bullied by Rona. The only one to blame is yourself. If you don't listen to others, you deserve to get kidney disease." The two sisters who used to abuse Rona together have now started fighting among themselves. Unfortunately, In-seok and Rona have already completed the divorce procedures. Even if the two sisters want to change their minds, there is no chance, without Rona at home to take the brunt of it. The conflict between the two sisters became increasingly intense. Yoonmi, who had fallen ill, had gone from eating only meat every day to only sweet potatoes and corn. Yoonji couldn't help but remind her that this way of eating would definitely lead to malnutrition. It was even more terrifying than eating meat every day. Rona's meals at the time were very healthy, with eggs, staples, fish, and vegetable salads. That was called a balanced diet. As soon as Yoonmi heard Rona's name, she immediately yelled at her younger sister, telling her to go hungry if she didn't want to eat. Yoonji couldn't help but expose her sister's malicious behavior and told her the whole story about how she didn't let Rona eat and caused Rona to have a miscarriage. Yoonmi also didn't soften her tone at all and said, "You participated in everything I did. Now you're pretending to be a good person? If you didn't keep encouraging me, I wouldn't have hated Rona so much. And in the end, it was because you insisted on getting rid of the dog that you forced Rona to move out of the house and get a divorce." The two of them got more and more excited as they argued, but they didn't realize that In-seok had heard everything. He then realized that his sister's tolerance and consideration for Rona were all fake, and he didn't believe Rona's words, but kept lecturing her about respecting her elders. Listening to the growing noise in the kitchen, In-seok finally couldn't hold back anymore. The two sisters were instantly dumbfounded and didn't know how to explain to their younger brother. Their son, who was supposed to be studying abroad, suddenly appeared in a wheelchair at the hospital. Jae-ho's parents couldn't believe their eyes. His mother nervously asked about Jae-ho's condition. Jae-ho, however, was too flustered to speak and lied that he needed to go for a checkup first. Jae-ho's parents rushed to the nurse's station to inquire about their son's condition, but the nurse was also at a loss for words and dared not tell the truth after hearing that they were Jae-ho's parents. The couple had originally come to the hospital to visit a friend, but never in their wildest dreams would they have imagined meeting their son here. The two of them walked into the hospital room in a daze. Even if the nurse didn't say anything, they knew that the situation must not be good. Their son had suddenly been hospitalized without telling them, and he was accompanied by his recently divorced ex-girlfriend Rona. Just then, Jae-ho returned to the room. He lied to his parents, saying that he had just had a common case of lymphadenitis and that he had been hospitalized after undergoing a comprehensive physical examination. However, his mother still sensed that something was wrong. It so happened that Jae-ho ran into the doctor during his follow-up examination. The attending doctor mistakenly believed that the wealthy couple already knew the truth. He immediately said that Jae-ho should have received anti-cancer treatment earlier. The disease had worsened significantly during the past few months. The doctor then advised the couple not to give up hope, because Jae-ho's disease had a much higher cure rate than other cancers. Even in the advanced stages, there was still hope for recovery. Upon hearing the doctor's words, Jaeho's mother was slow to react. Jaeho's father also sat in silence. After an unknown period of time, he persuaded his wife to go home and rest first, and that he would stay behind to take care of Jaeho. When Jaeho and Rona returned to the ward again, Jaeho's mother finally couldn't hold back any longer and repeatedly asked what was really wrong with her son's body. Jaeho looked a little guilty in the face of his tearful mother, but still lied to her, saying that he was only in the early stages of cancer and would be fine as long as he took his medicine. What he didn't know was that the attending doctor had already told the truth. After returning home, Jaeho's mother could no longer hold back her emotions. She cried alone in her bedroom. Heartrendingly, Jaeho was such a young and outstanding son who could have inherited the company, but she never expected him to get this kind of disease. The next day, her mother finally gathered her emotions and went to the hospital to visit Jaeho. It was then that she realized that Jaeho's sudden weight loss, fever and lack of appetite were all due to the pain of his illness. It was probably also the reason why he had cancelled his engagement with the actress at the last minute. Jaeho confessed that the actress had cancelled the engagement after learning about his illness. On the other hand, Rona had never abandoned him and had been by his side day and night, encouraging him to receive treatment. Even when the doctor said that he would not live more than 5 months, Rona was willing to marry him. Rona's care for Jaeho even made Jaeho's mother feel ashamed. Even though Rona had been divorced, Jaeho's mother decided that she would be her daughter-in-law. As long as Rona was willing to wait, Jaeho's health would improve, and they could hold a wedding. But Jaeho's mother was also worried that this would be unfair to Rona. Rona had already been divorced once. If she really got a marriage license with Jaeho, it would only delay her future life. But Rona doesn't care about any of that. She just wants to be with Jaeho as his wife. She even says that she doesn't want to wait until the end of treatment. She wants to marry Jaeho now. Rona says that after she divorced Inseok, she thought she would live the rest of her life alone, but when she heard that Jaeho had called off the wedding, she immediately changed her mind. She said that apart from Jaeho, she would never love anyone else in the world. Even if Jaeho leaves this world, she will still give birth to the child that they both carry. After Rona and her parents persuaded him, Jaeho promised to get treatment. After the first chemotherapy, he held a wedding with Rona. At this time, Inseok, who had already divorced, was still not giving up, since he knew that Rona was forced to leave by her sister. He kept trying to salvage the relationship. As soon as Inseok saw Rona, he knelt down and begged for forgiveness. He thought that if he let go of his pride, Rona would come back to him. But what he didn't know was that Rona had already been preparing to marry Jaeho. No matter what he said, Rona would never change her mind. Rona said that she was going to marry Jaeho soon. Please don't torture me anymore in the future. With this, Inseok finally gave up completely. He also understood that Rona really didn't like him. What's more, it was his own family that started it all. I'm sorry, Rona. Jaeho's parents were even able to accept a divorced woman, but their family had abused Rona for a whole year. Inseok sincerely apologized on behalf of his 2 sisters. Rona, however, graciously said that she no longer cared, and that her only wish now was to be by Jaeho's side. Inseok, heartbroken, completely gave up on the relationship. Yoonji immediately became upset when she learned that Rona was going to marry Jaeho. This was because everyone would then think that Rona had abandoned her younger brother. Jaeho's mother directly gave Rona a villa as their wedding home, so that the 2 of them could spend their time together without having to worry about living with Jaeho's parents. Rona excitedly packed up her new home. Jaeho's health was gradually improving under the anti-cancer treatment, although occasionally he still suffered from low blood pressure. But under the care of Rona and her mother, Jaeho's spirits were much improved. Jaeho's parents-in-law treated Rona like their own daughter, not only helping her take care of the dog, but also coming to the new home to help clean. With Rona and the dog by their side, the wealthy couple gradually gained confidence. They believed that their son would be able to overcome the disease and live happily with Rona. At this time, Inseok also learned that Jaeho had terminal cancer. He just couldn't understand why Rona would choose someone who was going to die over oneself. Unable to swallow this, Inseok drove all night to Rona's house. Rona knew that Inseok was thinking of her, but Jaeho was at his most vulnerable at the moment, and she had to stay by his side at all times. Besides, she was the one who had proposed marriage. No one had forced her, and it wasn't because she felt sorry for Jaeho. Inseok just wouldn't stop talking. He still couldn't accept the reality, and the 2 of them burst into tears as they faced each other. Jaeho's treatment was going very well. He was discharged from the hospital temporarily after the first course of treatment. In order to avoid being disturbed by the outside world, Rona and Jaeho held a simple small wedding. They only invited their best friends and relatives to attend. Since Rona's parents had both passed away, It was her father-in-law who walked her down the aisle to Jae-ho. This pair of unlucky lovers finally came together after all their hardships. Even though the time they have left may be short, they will always be by each other's side. Seeing that Jae-ho's health had already improved, the two were finally able to live the sweet life of newlyweds. That morning, Jae-ho went out to answer the phone and didn't come back for a long time. When Rona arrived, Jae-ho had fainted on the ground and couldn't be woken up no matter how hard she called his name. Meanwhile, the Chables were still basking in the joy of their son's marriage. They were thinking about when they would become grandparents. The Chables went to the market together to buy food for their son and daughter-in-law to help them regain their strength. But before they left the house, they received a call from their driver. Jae-ho's condition had worsened and he had suffered a cerebral hemorrhage. The operation would take more than 10 hours. By the time the couple arrived at the hospital, Rona was already crying inconsolably outside the room. Thanks to the doctor's rescue, Jae-ho barely managed to save his life. He stayed in the intensive care unit for 2 weeks before finally coming round. However, due to the cerebral hemorrhage, the pressure on the nerves caused Jae-ho's lower body to become completely paralyzed. Although Rona said that she would accompany Jae-ho no matter what he became, Jae-ho did not want to delay Rona's life. He called In-seok while Rona was out. In-seok rushed to the hospital and saw Jae-ho lying weak on the hospital bed. Struggling to speak, Jae-ho begged In-seok to take care of Rona for him, because he probably would not recover. He knew that In-seok still loved Rona and could only rest assured by entrusting Rona to In-seok's care. In-seok understood Jae-ho's feelings, but knowing Rona's character, he knew that she would definitely refuse. No matter what, Rona would never abandon Jae-ho at a time like this. In-seok called Rona and repeated Jae-ho's words. Rona was naturally very reluctant to hear such news, but before she could refuse, In-seok offered to become her caregiver and take care of both her and Jae-ho. If she came to take care of them, Rona would have to live with the caregiver every day. Neither Jae-ho nor herself would be able to rest assured. Rona wanted to refuse In-seok's kindness, but In-seok's attitude was very firm. He knew that if he wasn't there, Rona alone definitely couldn't handle it. He even said that if Rona felt uncomfortable, she could move in with her in-laws first. Rona finally made a compromise under In-seok's strong insistence. In-seok said that although he could not defeat the cancer cells, he was confident that he could take care of Jae-ho and help Jae-ho recover. Only when Rona and Jae-ho were happy could he live his own life. In-seok even gave up his writing career and focused all his energy on researching rehabilitation exercises. He just hopes to help Jae-ho recover as soon as possible. In-seok knows that Rona deeply loves Jae-ho. Only when Jae-ho gets better will Rona's face smile again. Only when he sees them happy will he feel happy. Although In-seok's identity is really awkward, Rona alone really can't take care of the paralyzed Jae-ho. Rona can only agree that the three of them temporarily live together. With In-seok and Rona's joint efforts, Jae-ho's health finally improved, and the relationship between In-seok and Jae-ho also eased up quite a bit. They are no longer awkward rivals but more like comrades in arms fighting side by side. But even so, they still can't avoid arguments, as long as Jae-ho has the thought of giving up. In-seok will mercilessly scold him to wake him up. Both of them love Rona deeply and both know that if Jae-ho dies, Rona definitely won't survive either. Inspired by In-seok, even though the recovery was extremely painful, Jae-ho stood up again and again to try, and this scene happened to be seen by Rona, who had just returned home. Seeing the two of them trying so hard, Rona was moved to tears. She quickly called her mother-in-law. Hearing the good news, the Chable wife also looked very excited. She was very grateful to In-seok and didn't know how to repay the other person's kindness, because no matter which caregiver it was, they could not be as serious and responsible as In-seok. In-seok and Jae-ho are now like real brothers. Jae-ho even pouts at In-seok, saying that he's craving instant noodles. In-seok doesn't mind cooking them for him, but Rona definitely won't let him eat such a nutritionally void food. Jae-ho says that they can eat it secretly without Rona knowing. In-seok turns around and goes out to buy instant noodles for Jae-ho. In order to prevent Rona from finding out, he deliberately stuffed the instant noodles into his coat, in order to distract Rona. In-seok lied that Jae-ho wanted to eat vegetable rolls and asked Rona to go to the supermarket to buy groceries. The two brothers took the opportunity to hide at home and eat instant noodles, enjoying the taste they had not had for a long time. Jae-ho specifically told In-seok to remember to open the window to ventilate after eating, so that Rona would not find out. But as soon as he finished speaking, Rona pushed the door open and walked in. Seeing the scene in front of her, Rona almost cried with anger. She had been researching how to nourish Jae-ho's body all day, but they were eating instant noodles at home without telling her. In-seok immediately put up his hands and knelt on the ground. Jae-ho also followed his example, put up his hands in surrender, and promised that there would be no repeat of this. Faced with the two men's submission, Rona finally chose to forgive them. When Rona was not at home, they shopped at the supermarket together. When Rona was at home, the three of them watched football matches together. The two men would help Rona wrap dumplings and tell her jokes to make her laugh. Insiak didn't even mind helping the paralyzed Jeho bathe. He stayed by his side 24 hours a day. With Insiak's encouragement, Jeho's health improved day by day. Rona looked at the two of them with relief and felt an unprecedented happiness. However, just then, there was some bad news. Her father-in-law called with a choked voice, asking Rona to hurry home and take a look. Rona was at a loss for words for a moment, afraid that something had happened to her in-laws. But then she received the news that the dog had died. The dog had been raised by Rona since it was a puppy and she had long considered it a family member. Rona rushed to her in-laws' house in a state of shock and fell to her knees, crying her heart out. Her father-in-law and mother-in-law stood by, feeling guilty, not knowing how to comfort Rona. Her mother-in-law said that the dog had not been sick and had not behaved abnormally. It had eaten well at lunch that afternoon. It had finally passed away in its sleep without suffering. The wealthy couple spent a lot of money to bury the dog and did not forget to leave Rona a dog leash as a memento. Insiak's sisters also heard the news that Jeho had cancer. Yunji scolded Rona for being out of her mind and abandoning her own brother and marrying someone with terminal cancer. Yunmi was even more mean-spirited and mocked Rona for being more aware than anyone else. She did this because she wanted to inherit the estate after Jeho died. In fact, Jeho's second anti-cancer treatment was very successful. That night, Jeho's father had a dream in which Deguzi died because it took the fall for Jeho, so Jeho would definitely live a healthy life. Sure enough, when his mother visited Jeho, she noticed that Jeho's condition had improved a lot. The previous Jeho was always sad and worried, but now he was always smiling. Jeho not only proposed to sing with Rona, he even asked Insiak to take him to the pool to exercise. Time passed and winter came. Jeho finally survived the 3 rounds of chemotherapy. The couple anxiously awaited the test results. After the 3 rounds of chemotherapy, the doctor announced that Jeho's illness had miraculously healed. His life from now on would be no different from that of a normal person. Rona was so moved that she burst into tears. She felt that all the hard work over the past few days had not been in vain. Outside the hospital room, Insiak was so nervous when he saw the two of them come out. It wasn't until Jeho excitedly hugged him that he understood everything. Meanwhile, the Chable couple also learned of this good news. To thank Insiak for his care, the couple took the initiative to invite Insiak to dinner at their home. Not only did Jeho treat Insiak like a brother, but the Chable couple also treated Insiak like their own son. From then on, everyone was a loving family. It's just that Jeho and Rona had just gotten married not long ago. Insiak had previously lived with them as a caregiver, but now that Jeho has recovered, Insiak no longer has a reason to stay. What's more, Insiak's sister seems to have discovered the truth as well. That day, when Insiak went out to take out the trash, he was seen by Yunmi's friend. Her younger brother had previously lied about going to a friend's house to write, but now he was seen in a villa area. Yunmi was afraid that there might be a problem, so she called her 2 sisters that night to discuss a plan. They even suspected that Insiak was being supported by an older woman and was doing housework in a villa area. Yunhai persuaded her sister to go and take a look tomorrow and everything would be clear. Yunji couldn't help but complain to her sister. If Rona were still here, the two of them might already have a child. The 3 sisters worried and didn't sleep all night. And the same couldn't sleep were Rona and Jeho. Insiak was already packing his things and preparing to leave. But after spending so much time together these days, Jeho had grown attached to him. Looking at the empty bed next to him, he actually felt a little uncomfortable. So Jeho and Rona discussed the idea of asking Insiak to stay and live together as a family of 3. Insiak actually didn't want to leave either. But during breakfast, he took the initiative to move out. He tried hard to liven up the mood at the table so as not to make Jeho and Rona too sad, but the two of them kept getting more and more serious. Before leaving, Insiak suggested cleaning the house one last time to leave it clean and tidy, and his 3 sisters had already found the door. When the 3 arrived, they happened to see the secretary of the Chable delivering something. After confirming that Insiak lived here, the sisters followed the secretary directly into the villa. Who knew that as soon as they opened the door, they ran into their precious younger brother mopping the floor. Yunmi could hardly stand after seeing Rona and Jeho come out. Insiak persuaded his sister to go home first, and that he would explain everything in due course. Yunmi, however, took aim directly at Rona. Insiak returned home with his packed luggage, facing his sister's crazy questioning all by himself. He explained that he was only going to help, but Yunmi became even more angry after hearing this. You are so incompetent that you have to become a caregiver for your ex-wife's husband. If this gets out, will your reputation outside still be worth anything? the media will only say that writer Inseok is a scum who ruins other people's marriages. Yoonmi blamed Rona for everything, but Inseok kept defending his ex-wife. Although at first he did move in with Rona, after spending so much time together, he and Jaeho had developed a brotherly bond, and at this point Jaeho was also missing Inseok, who had moved out, and he couldn't help but reminisce about the time they had spent together. Jaeho met Inseok at a restaurant and bluntly stated that he didn't want to be apart. If that was the case, the three of them could move abroad together. Jaeho said that Inseok and he understood each other's minds and got along like brothers. Since Inseok moved away, he has felt like something is missing. Only when Inseok is by his side will he and Rona feel more at ease and happier. Inseok himself still has feelings for Rona. Jaeho's words have touched his heart, but if they really want to live together, they still need to get Rona's opinion first. The three of them sit at home, looking at each other, not knowing what to say for a while. Rona says, "We are all adults. We can't just do what we want. We also have to consider the opinions of our family members." But Jaeho, who had just recovered from a serious illness, knew better than anyone that life was short and that one should certainly live for oneself. Rona didn't know how to respond and turned to Inseok for advice. "Even if we get divorced, you are still a young and wealthy writer. Don't you want to find another girl, get married, have children, and live your own life?" Unexpectedly, Inseok said that he could no longer fall in love with anyone else. Jaeho's parents obviously hadn't heard about their son's bold idea. As soon as Jaeho entered the door, his mother asked if they wanted to go on a honeymoon. Jaeho directly expressed his wish to live abroad, but this time, the three of them would go together. His words angered his usually good-natured mother. "Even if you want to repay a life-saving debt, you can't live together as a family of three." Jaeho said that the relationship between the three of them was difficult to explain, but that he was by no means a person who made decisions lightly. The three of them had already discussed this matter and hoped that their family would support them. Jaeho had always been obedient and excellent, and his mother had never had to worry about him. But after all, she is a mother. Even if her views on education are open-minded, she cannot bear the thought of her daughter-in-law living with two men at the same time. Jaeho's father is very open-minded. Since it is already the case, there is nothing they can do even if they want to stop it. After the serious illness, he just hopes that Jaeho can live a healthy and happy life. Jaeho's mother can't convince her son and husband, so she goes to talk to Rona alone. She doesn't believe that Rona can really accept such an absurd suggestion. Rona, however, says that it is all for Jaeho's own good. Jaeho and Inseok never had a brother growing up, and in his eyes, he has long considered Inseok his real brother. What's more, Jaeho and Inseok are really visibly happy together. Rona earnestly persuaded for a long time and finally got the tacit approval of the mother-in-law. Inseok knew that his sister would definitely not agree, so he left without even saying a word, leaving a note. Yoonmi was more careful this time and directly called the chaebol wife to ask if Jaeho and Rona had also left the country. When she learned that the other party had not gone out, she let out a sigh of relief. Inseok had already found a house and packed his things, so he was never going to come back. At this time, Jaeho, Rona, and their parents said their final goodbyes. Although the chaebol wife still couldn't understand their actions, there was no point in objecting anymore. Jaeho's father told them to live a good life there and remember to come home often. But as soon as he finished speaking, the light behind him suddenly broke. Rona was instantly panicked. Is this another bad omen? The three of them booked a flight for that night. As long as the plane took off, they could start a new life. Jaeho went to the airport to check in, leaving Rona and Inseok waiting. The two, an actor and a famous writer, were soon photographed by fans and posted online. Although there was no big publicity about Rona and Jaeho getting married, the news that she and writer Inseok had divorced had already been rumored for a long time. Now that the photo had been released, everyone thought that the two were getting ready to get back married. Yoonji was shocked when she saw the news. No wonder her brother's been in such a good mood recently. He's been with Rona again. Yoonji quickly showed the photo to her two sisters. The three of them immediately discussed their response. They couldn't let Inseok and Rona leave the country. If they really get on the plane, I'm afraid I'll never be able to contact them again. As the plane was about to take off, Inseok and Rona's phones had already been switched off. The sisters could only contact their friends at the airport while desperately rushing to the airport. Perhaps it was fate. The flight the three were on was delayed, so as soon as the sisters entered the airport, they saw Rona sitting with them. This really made Yoonmi mad. She demanded firmly that Inseok go home with her. Yoonmi still directed all her anger at Rona. If you still won't let Inseok go, don't blame me for being rude. Inseok was afraid that his sister might do something extreme, so he went home first. Since he had already been discovered, Inseok didn't hide it. He confessed that he was going to go abroad with Jaeho and Rona. After spending so much time together, He had developed feelings for Jae-ho and regarded the other as his own brother. He doesn't care what others think. As long as he can be with Rona and Jae-ho, he will be happy. In-seok hopes that his sister will let him live the life he wants. Yoon-mi doesn't know if she is too stunned to be angry. It is rare to see her so calm. She didn't yell or get angry and scold people. Among In-seok's 3 sisters, Yoon-hye is the most reasonable. She went to find Rona to find out the situation. After all, this fact is really ridiculous. Even if In-seok couldn't get over it, how could Rona and her husband agree to it? However, Rona said, "It's normal that you don't understand. The 3 of them have lived through difficult times together. That's why they know how important they are to each other. Without any one of them, the other 2 wouldn't be able to live. For myself, In-seok is not just an ex-husband, but also Jae-ho's savior." Her sisters couldn't understand Rona's way of thinking, and Rona couldn't empathize with her sister's feelings. In the sisters' eyes, both love and brotherhood seem trivial in the face of true family affection. Yoon-mi sees that her younger sister's words have fallen on deaf ears, so she personally goes to Jae-ho's father to negotiate. "Do you really want to let the children run wild?" Jae-ho's father says that he can't stop his son's decision, but Yoon-mi doesn't relent, threatening to die on the spot if the Chaebol family doesn't take care of this matter. Then she brings up the fact that In-seok wants to get back together with Rona. Jae-ho's mother rejected this request on the spot. Even though she couldn't understand her son's actions, she still chose to protect her daughter-in-law Rona. At this time, Yoon-hye and Yoon-ji couldn't get through to their sister on the phone and were worried. The 2 of them quickly called In-seok and asked him to hurry home. In-seok hung up the phone and hurried home as quickly as he could. However, he wasn't careful and a large truck came rushing out in front of him. Yoon-ji was still hoping that her sister would come home, but she didn't expect to get a call from her brother with the news of an accident. They frantically called their sister while rushing to the hospital. Yoon-mi, who had just heard the news, was so shocked that she could hardly stand. She immediately rushed to the hospital. Jae-ho's mother quickly asked Rona to call In-seok's sister. In-seok seemed to have been injured and the situation did not look good. Jae-ho, who was worried, decided to go to the hospital to check on his sister himself. He also told Rona not to worry and to wait for news from him at home. However, Rona felt a great sense of unease. Before, the light bulb in the house had broken for no reason. Just now, when she was in the elevator with Jae-ho, it also broke down. In a daze, she even heard the harsh sound of the brakes. None of this seemed like a good sign. Yoon-hye and her younger sister were the first to arrive at the hospital. However, there were no busy doctors in the resuscitation room. There were only police officers and a cold corpse. The police slowly lifted the white cloth. In-seok, who was in front of them, was already lifeless. The 2 sisters instantly lost their minds. They wept heartrendingly in front of In-seok's bed. Their voices continued to echo through the emergency room and reached Yoon-mi, who was standing in front of the hospital entrance. Yoon-mi kept calling her brother's name, unable to believe that her brother had left her like this. At this moment, she regretted what had happened. If she hadn't forced her brother to go home, the accident would never have happened. It wasn't long before Jae-ho arrived at the hospital as well. He couldn't believe that In-seok had left like this. Since In-seok passed away so suddenly, there was no photo of the deceased in the funeral hall. When Jae-ho and Rona arrived, the 3 sisters were already kneeling on the ground, crying uncontrollably. Yoon-mi, however, blamed Rona for her brother's death. She rushed up like a madwoman, grabbed Rona by the hair and cursed, blaming Rona for killing In-seok. If it weren't for marrying Rona, her brother would never have become like this. Rona's hair was in a mess, but she stood still and silently endured everything, even though the people around her tried desperately to stop Yoon-mi. Her mournful cries filled the entire funeral hall. On the day of the funeral, Jae-ho walked at the front holding In-seok's photo. Rona rushed to the coffin with her 3 sisters, crying uncontrollably. The days she had spent with In-seok once again came flooding back to her. From the first time she saw In-seok, Rona fell in love with him at first sight, even though her sisters kept getting in the way. In the end, the 2 of them entered the marriage hall. Rona just didn't expect that marrying In-seok was not only the beginning of happiness, but also the beginning of tragedy. The torment of her 3 sisters drove them apart. But in the end, Rona's heart still loved In-seok. In-seok's death was an irreparable wound for both her and Jae-ho. But fortunately, Rona has now found happiness again, with Jae-ho by her side to take care of In-seok. Even if she leaves, she can rest assured that Rona and Jae-ho can consider themselves guiltless, while the 3 sisters are plunged into infinite remorse. At night, Yoon-mi feels even more that her younger brother is still by her side, and she can't help but walk over to the bedroom and call out In-seok's name. But her beloved younger brother will never answer her again. When Yoon-ji realized something was wrong the next day, her sister had fainted in In-seok's bedroom. However, Yunmi seemed to have no soul at this time, just staring at the ceiling and crying. The two younger sisters kept comforting her, saying that even if Inseok was gone, they were still there. Could it be that they were not family members if Inseok was the only family member? Jaeho was so happy to hear that Rona was pregnant that he could hardly walk steadily. The Chaebol wife was so excited that she hugged Rona and left, leaving Jaeho behind. You have to know that before. At Inseok's house, Rona was pregnant and had to prepare for the sacrifice, but she was so exhausted that she had a miscarriage, and she was humiliated by her sisters, who said that she couldn't even keep her baby. After marrying into the Jaeho family, Rona finally experienced the warmth of her in-laws. When the father-in-law learned that Rona was pregnant, he immediately quit his job and rushed home. In order to make Rona eat healthier, her father-in-law, who hadn't cooked in decades, even took the initiative to cook pumpkin porridge. The clumsy appearance of her husband made the Chaebol wife unable to hold back her laughter. Under the care of her parents-in-law, Rona's condition is getting better and better. Even her stomach is a little bigger than that of a normal pregnant woman. Whenever the family has the opportunity, they go out to eat. At the dinner table, her father-in-law kept telling jokes to make Rona happy. Jaeho would even buy Rona her favorite chocolate before going home. But who knew that as soon as they entered the shop, they ran into Inseok's sister, Yoonji. Seeing Rona's obvious belly, she froze for a moment, while Rona looked at her in shock as if she had seen a ghost. She had barely escaped the torment of Inseok's three sisters, and even now, it still felt like a nightmare. Yoonji went home and told her sisters about Rona's pregnancy. The sensible Yoonhae also felt very sorry for Rona. At the funeral, her sisters blamed Rona for killing Inseok, but it was clearly because they wouldn't let Inseok go abroad that things had turned out like this. Yoonhae hoped that her sisters would go and apologize to Rona to completely resolve this knot in their hearts. At this time, Rona gave birth to a chubby baby boy, but at this time, she accidentally bumped into Yoonmi and Yoonji in the mall. She quickly asked the nanny to take the baby and ran home without buying any groceries, fearing that Yoonmi might do something drastic. But Yoonmi still saw the baby's face. She guessed that the baby must be Inseok's. Thinking about this, her fighting spirit flared up again. Her feelings for Inseok were completely transferred to this baby. Since she didn't get Rona's phone number, she called the Chaebol family directly. Hearing the voice on the other end of the phone, Rona froze. She never dreamed that even if Inseok were dead, Yoonmi would not let go of herself. In order to prevent Yoonmi from barging in, Rona had no choice but to go out and meet her. Unexpectedly, Yoonmi was aggressive as soon as she arrived, questioning whether the child was really Inseok's. She even forced Rona to take a paternity test, saying that it was a matter of bloodline. Rona warned her not to be delusional, saying that the child was not Inseok's at all. Yoonmi took advantage of Rona's absence to go directly to the Chaebol's home. She bluntly said that the child looked like her younger brother, suspecting that this was their bloodline. Yoonmi said such offensive things as soon as she entered the door, and anyone who heard them would be angry. Mrs. Chaebol wanted to kick Yoonmi out immediately, but Yoonmi continued talking, demanding that the child be taken for a paternity test. At this time, the sound of the child crying came from the bedroom. Yoonmi immediately got up and rushed into the house like a madwoman. Even Jaeho's parents tried desperately to stop her, but they couldn't control the mad Yoonmi. She rushed into the bedroom, snatched the baby from the nanny's hands, and held it tightly. Luckily, the nanny was quick-witted and chased Yoonmi downstairs before she could take the baby away from the villa. When Jaeho and Rona returned home, their mother hurriedly told them to be careful. That woman is really fierce and scary, and she has such a strong personality. No wonder she ended up killing her own brother. She may seem shrewd, but she's actually just a smug fool. Rona's father-in-law knows that Yoonmi has been bullying Rona, so he tells her not to worry about it and that he will handle it himself. But Rona insists that she must handle it herself. She knows Yoonmi's character. She will not stop until she gets what she wants. In the past, Rona has repeatedly tolerated it, but this time, for the sake of her child, she will never let anyone bully her again. Rona takes the initiative to meet with Inseok's two sisters. She warned Yoonmi not to threaten her again. Inseok didn't die because of her, although Rona had already stated that she would never compromise. Yoonmi still insisted on taking back the child to raise it. However, the child was still too young to leave its mother for the time being, so she planned to let Rona raise it for a while. When the child reached the age of 2 or 3 and could walk and talk, she would find a way to steal the child back. Yoonmi goes to the gym every day to get fit in order to steal the child back. Even the fatty foods she normally eats have become nutritious meals and protein powder. She even seeks out Chinese medicine prescriptions for beauty in order to look a little younger, for fear of being taken for a grandmother by the child. From the boy's 100th day, Yoonmi has been planning how to steal the child back. Now that the child is 3 years old and can leave his mother, Yunmi is finally ready to start her plan. She called Rona out, and as soon as they met, she handed her a strand of Insiak's hair and forced her to take the child for a paternity test. If Rona refused, she would have to file a lawsuit. When that happened, it would become a huge scandal. The Chable family and the entire company would be affected. Yunmi thought she was being clever, but Rona simply took out a paternity test. The results showed that the child's bloodline with Jaeho was 100% established. Since it was confirmed that the child was Jaeho's, it could no longer be related to Insiak. Yunmi still refused to believe it. She thought that the paternity report Rona gave her was forged. She had exercised for 3 whole years just to take back the bloodline of her family, but she never expected that the child was not hers. Yunmi was sent to the hospital again because she was too agitated. Yunhai advised her sister not to go on like this. Although she said this, she also understood her sister's obsession. Yunmi just needed a little support to ease her guilt towards Insiak. So Yunhai finds Rona and hopes that she can occasionally take the child to meet Yunmi, so that Yunmi has something to look forward to and has hope to continue living. After returning home, Rona thinks about it again and again, and finally decides to ask Jaeho first. Jaeho says he will support all of Rona's decisions, but this makes Rona feel even more troubled. She really doesn't want to be involved with Yunmi anymore, but thinking about her ex-husband Ma, she feels that this is too cruel. If Insiak were still alive, he definitely wouldn't want to see his sister like this. Upon hearing this, Jaeho also agreed. He said, "Insiak has given us so much kindness, but before we could repay the favor, he left, and now is the time for us to repay the favor." Jaeho even said that he and Insiak were like brothers. Then Insiak's sister is like a sister to oneself. Under Jaeho's guidance, Rona finally temporarily let go of her grudges and agreed to let the sisters meet with the children. Yunmi got up early in the morning to cook. The living room was filled with toys for the children. The moment they saw the children, all 3 sisters were in tears. It was as if they were seeing young Insiak. Seeing the children playing happily with their sisters, Rona also revealed a relieved smile. It seemed that all the past grievances had vanished at this moment. Before leaving, Yunmi called out to Rona and then went straight up to hug her to express her gratitude. A few months later, Insiak's last book won the literary award, and Yunmi had also completely let go thanks to the healing power of her child. She thanked everyone who had helped Insiak and was even more grateful to Rona and the child as a gift from heaven. Even though Insiak was no longer there, everyone would continue to live happily and strongly forever with love and memories of him. The story ends here. Personally, I think the saddest person in the whole drama was Insiak. If he hadn't been manipulated by his sister, he might be living a happy life with Rona right now. Unfortunately, there are no ifs in the world, and time cannot be turned back.